swept away about 15 farms and villages downstream. Authorities fear that the death toll could still rise. The BBC's Kalkigdan Yilberdal has more.
After being ravaged by 16 months of civil war, Sudan is now experiencing torrential rains and floods that have killed dozens and displaced tens of thousands. The collapse of the dam in Red Sea State is one of the worst incidents, washing away farms and villages downstream. It's more sad news for a country suffering ever-worsening humanitarian conditions. Famine has already been declared in parts of the country, and extreme weather events will only exacerbate shortages.
The top story, the city of Joburg's MMC for Public Safety has welcomed Mayor Dada Morero's promise to unlock funds that will allow the city to provide transitional accommodation. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhaleme.
Coming up in your sports this hour, Snyman Murat and Etzebeth ruled out of Saturday's test against the All Blacks. Comrades Marathon addresses cyberbullying and harassment, and Paralympians with tattoos of the Olympic rings no longer obliged to cover them in competition. More details at 3:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So who said, over the weekend there's no news? There's so much news that takes place over the weekend and beyond. I mean, and just think about it. Just one, the issue of the head of Telegram being arrested over the weekend, and then, very topical from a South African perspective, the issue of the executive mayor of the city of Joburg pronouncing on many issues, Dada Morero, and then the issues of appointing certain people who may not be South Africans into certain positions in Joburg, and then the rebuttal coming from the Premier of Gauteng. All that happened on a weekend. So this notion that the National Pulse does not move on a weekend because people chill off and sleep it out, it's just not true. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the National Pulse. My name is Ashraf Garda. Thank you, and great that you're a part of the show. Now, you can not just listen, you can engage as well if you wish to call in anytime. You know that. We're always live, 086 000 2032, and you can WhatsApp in for voice notes or text 0614 104 107. And by the way, you know that, right? You can also send us pictures of wherever you are listening on, and post them on social media, on the X platform, Twitter, as well as on Facebook. So where are you listening to us from today? But need I not forget this? Here's your question to you. What for you moves the National Pulse today? We host the conversations that move you. So what moves the National Pulse today? What is the big issues that you think has a huge impact on the country today that gets the pulse rate moving? I certainly want to hear what there is. And by the way, as we talk about that, maybe you can answer this one too, because we're going to touch on this issue regarding the goings-on regarding the city of Joburg. So, and the new mayor, right? One word. Just give me one word you would describe what the Joburg mayor said, and then his apology, which followed the Gauteng Premier, but in this case the chairperson as well, Panyaza Lusufi, commenting to saying we don't agree with the proposals that was discussed. One word you may know about that you have around that, right? Okay, let's get to some of the big issues. We did say, in fact, we do know that story has moved on. So let's get it right here. The mayor, Joburg Mayor Dada Morero, he made the point at an ANC conference, Lekgotla sort of regional one, that he would consider recruiting properly documented foreigners into the JMPD to fight crime. And the primary reason he gave was that they would understand the language, because, how do you then fight crime against others when you have issues of translation problems? So get people to understand the language, so even if people are issuing a statement in another language, this person would fully understand that. We then found that Panyaza Lesufi saying, and I'm reading his tweet, we don't agree with this proposal. We held discussions with our regional chairperson and the executive mayor, who advised us that the ANC Johannesburg Lekgotla rejected his proposal, and he fully accepts the decision not to entertain this proposal further. So that is what happened. We understand there's now been an apology, formal apology from the Joburg mayor. So therefore my point, 24 hours is a long, long time in a state of understanding the pulse of the nation. Let me play that clip.
Including the challenges on migration and in migration. The Lekgotla resolved that we should instead train our officers to be proficient in foreign languages that are dominant in areas with the highest concentration of specific groups of foreign nationals. The Lekgotla, however, accepted the concern that language barriers frustrate police work as valid and legitimate. Upon further reflection, I have come to the conclusion that my suggestion was not consistent with the policies of the ANC and policies of government. I therefore unconditionally withdraw my proposal and apologize for the anxiety it might have caused to the residents of Johannesburg and the people of South Africa as a whole. I wish to appreciate, of course, the robust manner in which our people were engaged in this discourse, especially in social media platforms. The participation of our people in this discourse reaffirms our belief that we have a vibrant and conscious citizenry upon which a prosperous society can and will be built. And let me conclude by saying,
okay, let's pause there. Let me bring in Prince Mashele. So we now have an apology from the executive mayor for suggesting that they would use foreign nationals, but properly documented, let me just make that very clear, to assist in fighting crime in that city. Prince Mashele, good chatting to you first up. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thanks, Ashraf, and greetings to the listeners of SAFM.
Thank you. So I did say, 24 hours is a long, long time when it comes to moving the pulse of the nation. What do you make of what's happened here? The mayor talking, Panyaza Lesufi saying something, now an apology today. So much has happened.
Two things, Ashraf. Number one, I've been observing for some time, and my conclusion is that the ANC has become an incoherent party. Incoherent in the sense that you would find the national leadership pronouncing on certain issues, in other words, adopting certain positions. And such positions would be contradicted by leaders who are leading lower structures of the ANC. Let me give you an example. The national leadership of the ANC has adopted a stance that there is a government of national unity in South Africa, and it has even signed agreements with specific parties, including the Democratic Alliance. We have seen that lower structures of the ANC, in particular, the leadership of the ANC in Gauteng, has actually contradicted what the national government has adopted. So that's the context. So I was not surprised when I heard the mayor of Johannesburg, who is a leader of the ANC in the region, articulating a position that is contrary to the policies of the national government as well as the policies of his own party. In fact, he has said that his proposals contradict the policies of his party. So
maybe let's pause there. So just help us understand, what did Panyaza Lesufi say and what did the mayor say that contradicted national policy? Because there's three different parties here.
Okay. Panyaza, okay, let's put Panyaza on the side. Let's start with the mayor. The mayor made a proposal that his city, the city that he leads, Johannesburg, should consider hiring foreigners to assist, and I would presume here, the Johannesburg Metro Police to fight crime, especially in areas where there's a high concentration of foreigners, because he thinks that there's a problem of language. In other words, our Metro Police don't understand the languages that are spoken by foreigners who are in Johannesburg.
Okay.
And obviously, he has now apologized, acknowledging that proposal of his contradicts the policies of the national government as well as the policies of the ANC. So that's what he said. Now, this is shocking, coming from a very senior leader of the party. I mean, if you are a mayor of Johannesburg, you are very senior. That he would make a proposal in terms of policy that contradicts the policy of his own party at a national level and that of the South African government.
But let me ask you this then. I mean, but if he's only making a suggestion, why would that be a contradiction? Isn't a suggestion, isn't a lechotla, aren't think tanks just for that reason where you thresh out possibilities? I mean, he can't speak by decree, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, but here is the thing. There is a policy that is underway, that is being implemented by the South African government. And his party, at the national level, has already adopted a policy with regard to scarce skills and the role of foreigners in the economy. So he is aware of that. And by the way, his region was represented in the policy conference of the ANC that adopted this position that I'm talking about. So I wouldn't expect him to speak out of line, given that his region and himself, by the way, was part of the discussions that took place leading to the adoption of the policy.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying.
Okay, so he spoke out of line, right? I got that. Now what did Panyaza Lesufi then say?
No, Panyaza Lesufi contradicted him, the regional leader. In other words, he made him aware of the existence of a policy in the party. So Panyaza Lesufi literally called his regional leader in Johannesburg into line to say you cannot make such a proposal when you know that the ANC already has a policy in this regard. So Panyaza Lesufi is correct. The person here who is wrong is the regional leader of the ANC in Johannesburg.
Okay. Now quickly, what then is the policy, just for clarity? What is the ANC's or national policy regarding foreign nationals?
There is a national policy which is implemented by government, which says that there are certain categories of skills that have been identified as scarce skills. And by the way, the police are not part of that. So what I would have expected would have been for the mayor of Johannesburg to familiarize himself with the list of scarce skills that South Africa as a country has identified. And if you think that the police should be part of that, he should be engaging with the national leadership, both of his party as well as of the state. Remember, being mayor of Johannesburg means that he is part of the leadership of the state. So that's what he should have done instead of causing confusion in society.
All right, so let's move on then. Let's go back to the original point. What does this say about the ANC?
It says that the party is incoherent. Whenever a particular official representing the party at different levels speaks, as society, we cannot be sure as to whether that is an expression of the party policy or not. That's essentially what it means. Two, possibly that the policy making and articulation mechanism within the party has collapsed. Because if it had not collapsed, this mayor, who is a regional leader of the party in Johannesburg, would have checked first with the policy making process and articulation system in the ANC as to what is the policy of the party in this regard before he causes confusion in society.
Okay, but I mean, having said that, we almost went to the break, so there's a short answer. I mean, he wouldn't be the only person expressing an opinion. Sometimes he's doing it in a Lekgotla, in a think tank. We've had examples now already, where, for example, the Minister of Sports, Art and Culture, Gaten McKenzie, effectively contradicting national policy on other issues without even checking out what the story is, even in his position as the minister.
We can pardon Gaten McKenzie, because he is not a member and a leader of the ANC. So sometimes he speaks representing his own party, the Patriotic Alliance. So that is understandable. But it is unacceptable for a leader of the ANC to contradict, one, his party when the party already has a policy that it has announced publicly. Two, if such a leader occupies a position of responsibility within the state. And this is the case with regard to Dada Murer.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Appreciate you giving up your time. And as you said, there's nothing else we've heard. It's incoherent. The ANC is incoherent. That's the voice of Prince Mashele. Now, I wonder what you make of that. Thanks for your time. Much appreciated. So what do you think? One word regarding the ANC in Joburg or nationally?
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
So, to remind you, Prince Mashele says one word to describe the ANC. He calls them incoherent regarding the issue of Joburg, announced the pronouncement of foreign nationals. What do you make? Just give me one word. You can text me, in terms of WhatsApp, or you can post it on the social media platforms as well. In the meantime, get affordable car insurance and do more than money you could save every month. 69-year-old Vivian can afford to treat herself more now that she pays an awesome car insurance premium of only 749 rands per month to insure her grey 2024 Suzuki Jimny at 5DR or AT5DR. You got that? Do you want more? Well, SMS out to 30754 to get a quote. Got that? Out 30754 now. Licensed insurer and FSP T's and C's are online.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
You may have seen in one of the biggest stories, and again I make the point about who said nothing happens on the weekend. Lots happens indeed. Certainly one of the biggest stories is the news of the CEO of Telegram being arrested in France. So let's get the whole story, because there are huge implications across the board on this one. And this one, I think, fits in smart about Global Watch feature. Brandon Peterson with me, who's the tech editor of Reframed. Brandon, appreciate your time. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf. Thanks for having me.
I can't think of a more appropriate word of a title of a platform than Reframed, considering what we're talking about now. It's like just so appropriate. Tell us what's happened. Give us the backstory first.
So the sort of short version of it is that the CEO of Telegram, Pavel Durov, he was arrested Saturday night outside Paris, and he's been placed in custody essentially for offences related to Telegram. So, these are all sorts of misuse that's been happening on the platform, so everything over accusations of organized crime, drug trafficking, cyberbullying, fraud, promotion of terrorism, all sorts of things. And now he's essentially being held accountable for this.
Okay, and in terms of you mentioned different things. One is, first of all, here's it, Telegram. For those who don't know, what is Telegram?
So the way people have sort of described Telegram is it's an instant messaging platform that is very much like WhatsApp. So you can, someone can download the app to their phone or their laptop or whatever, and you can instant message back and forth. I think the slight difference between that and WhatsApp is, WhatsApp is obviously been individual to individual conversations, and after that they sort of introduce group conversations, phone calls, that sort of thing. Whereas Telegram is almost like it's multiple different rooms that you can chat in, where they've then decided to add on the ability to have individual to individual conversations. And unlike WhatsApp, which is encrypted end to end, Telegram is not.
Okay, so but for those who don't know, I mean, WhatsApp and Telegram are related in terms of their overall functionality, and that's what people would use, right? So what role has the CEO played, either directly or indirectly, to then actually cause his arrest? I mean, you mentioned human trafficking and a whole lot of other things. What has he actually done that gets him being arrested?
Well, I mean, he's done nothing, and that's, sort of, I think, really what the concern is here is, even though he's not had a hand in any of these things happening on the platform, he's also done nothing to curb it. And that really seems to be what the problem is, because this is not the first time Telegram's, run into issues with the law. Just earlier this year, Spain was trying to suspend or ban Telegram from operating in the country. I think it lasted for about 3 days. But they're not the only country who's either successfully ban them or tried to ban them. There's lots of other countries, China being one of them, who's been able to actually ban access to Telegram because of concerns over no oversight in terms of what's happening on the platform.
Now, what are the implications, the implications of the arrest of the CEO, first, to himself and then to his company, but more importantly, even moving, well, I'll say more importantly, I mean, there are different facets to this one, moving beyond the implications in terms of different people who run and own and manage effectively global communications platforms. I mean, you can say ditto for WhatsApp, and the same obviously for the Twitter or the X platform we're talking about.
Well, I think that's exactly it. The big sort of comparison that I think a lot of people are drawing is between what's happening on Telegram and what we've seen happening on X, formerly known as Twitter. Because there's all the conversation around freedom of speech. And, I was saying to someone, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of responsibility or freedom of consequences. And, when you're allowing these things to happen, that this is detrimental to, society or putting people in danger, you need to put guardrails in place to curb those, because ultimately everyone needs to be kept safe. So I think that what this is really drawing attention to is just how important that is. And I think countries and governments are starting to start clamping down. So other platforms who are allowing these things to happen and not doing anything, I think this is a shot across the bow. It's a warning sign for them that just needs to change.
And I mean, just the last thought on this, again, this balancing out between, free speech and then allowing people using platforms to do literally what they want, which inevitably means there's a huge number of not individuals expressing themselves, but actual lobbyists who come together, who like, hold it, we can actually push our narrative on this platform. How do we manage and get that balance right between the two?
Well, yeah, that's the question. I think, you need to be asking the questions around what is for sort of greater human good, and what is just an individual perspective. Because I think when it comes to algorithms and the sort of echo chambers we've created, there are harmful narratives that are being shared, which, had we not had social media or these algorithms, I don't think, a lot of people would have been able to share that and sort of grow those ideologies and then sort of have those conversations outside of maybe 2 or 3 other people who then maybe would have said, listen, I don't think that your perspective on X, Y, and Z is correct. So I think, we need to look at the greater human good. And I think when it comes to just letting people say whatever they want, I don't think that is always the right thing to do.
I think the big question is, what is the greater good? Don't answer that. Yeah. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. There are lots to consider regarding just that issue, that of the arrest of the CEO of Telegram, Brandon Peterson from Refrain. Appreciate your time. Let's get the news headlines. It's 3:30. Here's Badupi.
And good afternoon. In your headlines, Electricity Minister Kgosian Suramokopa says although municipalities' electricity debt to Eskom sits at a high level of 78 billion rand, the 347 billion owed to municipalities by various customers, including residents and businesses, is more concerning. The city of Joburg's MMC for Public Safety has welcomed Mayor Dadamurero's promise to unlock funds that will allow the city to provide transitional accommodation, and the UN Children's Agency UNICEF says it is taking more than 1 million doses of polio vaccines into Gaza. Details of these and other stories at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The N4 westbound in Bronkhorstspruit has a truck crash reported between Gauteng's Mpumalanga border and Bosmanskraal. The N3 northbound in Alexandra has a stationary vehicle reported near London Road. The N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview, slow moving on both routes towards Giluli's Interchange, and the N1 northbound in Fairland has a crash reported after 14th Avenue exit. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a stationary truck after Spaghetti Junction. The N3 eastbound in Key Ridge has a crash reported after the Cliffdale exit, and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. Voortrekker Road eastbound is slow moving through Maitland. Brighton Road in Kraaifontein slow moving at the N1 highway, and Victoria Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, Chumiko chatting to you. It's a Monday afternoon. What's the big story? Rugby, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's rugby. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Springbok assistant coach Deon Davids has confirmed that Argeus Snyman, Salman Murat have been ruled out of Saturday's test against New Zealand due to injury. Snyman is nursing a foot injury while Murat suffered a concussion, while Eben Itzebeth is also struggling with injury. Now, the Boks resume their rugby championship campaign in Johannesburg and look to take a significant step towards the Southern Hemisphere title. Then in football, Cape Town City coach Eric Tinkler is after clean sheets and goals when they host Orlando Pirates in the first leg of the MTN8 semi-final showdown tomorrow. Now, the citizens welcome their Soweto rivals to the DHL Stadium tomorrow, hoping to have given themselves an advantage before traveling to Orlando for the return match over the weekend. Tinkler says that they are wary of the Buccaneers being comfortable even when they are on the road, but he wants his City Chargers to also soak up the atmosphere.
Pirates playing at home or away is always a home game. They get massive support, they get massive crowd, but on a personal note, I've always felt the fuller the stadium, whether it's your spectators or the opposition spectators, it makes you raise your game to another level. So I don't think that plays an effect. I think the fact that obviously still in this competition, away goals count. So it's very, very important to look to keep that clean sheet, especially when you're playing at home. So I think that's got to be the primary factor for us, to make sure that we give ourselves more than a chance when we go away from home. So I think that's very, very important for me.
Still staying with football, elsewhere, Victor Osimhen's agent Roberto Calenda has rubbished reports suggesting that the striker is on the verge of moving to Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal. In a strongly worded statement shared on social media, Calenda made it clear that Osimhen remains fully committed to his career in Europe, where he believes the Nigerian forward still has much to accomplish. Just quoting the Italian agent, he says that Victor is not a package to be shipped far away to make room for new profits. Victor still has so much to do in Europe. There were reports suggesting that the 25-year-old had agreed to a £55 million salary deal with Al Hilal. Then in marathon news, the Comrades Marathon Association has decided to finally take a stand against cyberbullying, harassment and defamation, and to clear all the allegations of corruption, theft and fraud leveled against some of its previous current board members and general membership. Last week, 4 board members, including the association's chairperson Ngondisi Ngobo and vice chairperson Leslie Bernard, resigned, and reports are social media was behind some resignation. And according to Comrades Association, they are taking a stand against such. Then 2 days to go until the Paralympic Games, and the International Paralympic Committee has said that Paralympians with tattoos of the Olympic rings are no longer obliged to cover them in the competition. The ruling banning the display of the Olympic rings tattoo in competition was first introduced back in 2012 at the London Para Games, where some athletes were actually disqualified if they had such tattoos. Now the IPC has reversed the rule. With that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
So we were asking the other day about rugby tickets. Were you able to get some for people who are desperate?
Absolutely.
I know you said that they're sold out. I thought, things can change. You never know.
No, it hasn't changed.
No chance.
No chance whatsoever.
Okay. By the way, I noticed, maybe we'll talk about it later on, about you can take a free cow train to Park Station and then from there to Ellis Park for this game, and they've spruced up the whole area only because it's the Boks against the All Blacks.
And it's not surprising.
Oh goodness. Okay, more sport in an hour.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the top 8 take on a new challenge. This week, they delve into the world of social media and learn what it takes for a recipe video to go viral online. Working together, they must create their own unique version of a famous social media bake. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on SABC2.
Every day, our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Audison. Is big food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org.
Right, so you may want to make a note of this, right? What words come to mind when you hear the titles like Skim Sam, Generations, The Legacy and Uzama? I mean, you have certain words you can think about, right? So perhaps the words are royalty, classics, the stars and drama. Now, SABC One proudly brings you the 7th Royalty Soapy Awards, awarding the excellence in the soapies across all of Mzansi's broadcasters. Tune in for all the glitz and the glam broadcasting. It happens this Saturday, 31st of August from 8 p.m. only on SABC One. Mzansi for sure.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, I'll ask you the question, what for you moves the national pulse today? What are the biggest issues in the country? ASCOM certainly having a briefing that you may want to touch on just now, but the issue of the ANC in Joburg and Gauteng by extension, as Prince Mashile says, they're rather incoherent regarding the proposed hiring of foreign nationals to assist them with policing. What do you make of that? Just one word. You can call in as well, but great if you just give one word. We just understand that better. Here's someone saying, how about wretched? By that I mean completely off-center. As a citizen, it is extremely distressing to watch the unfolding of waves of contradictions, which in the end takes the eye of the ball and it will show in service delivery. It comes from M. And then M says, former corporate executive. Got you, M. Malusi in Burgersfort, hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good talking to you, Malusi. Go ahead. Yeah, what's your point?
Yeah, man. I'm just asking myself that when Dada Morero prepared that speech, I believe he was with his advisors or whoever and some of the ANC people, because we cannot just go up to the stage and present something surprising to the comrade. You understand? So I'm just saying that it looks like the whole ANC has lost touch with its people, mainly those who voted for them. Because you cannot just make just such a reckless statement in the point where there is issue of unemployment in the country, and you go into the platform and make such a statement, knowing how the ANC has been bruised in the past elections. You understand what I'm saying? So it's actually it's imploding within. ANC is just imploding, and it looks like everyone is just does as they please.
Okay, got that. Well, there you are. I mean, the question is, are they out of sync with the reality? Some may suggest that. Thank you. Here's another comment. The Telegram CEO arrested to toe the line of neoliberal colonial agenda. That's certainly another point that we've certainly heard. Kirk is with us in Cape Town. Yeah, hi, Kirk.
Hello, Ashraf. I want to comment, please, on Ronaldo Gous, the DAMP.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who has been suspended and still serves on parliamentary committees. I understand that even though you've been suspended by your party, you still have the ability to take part in committee meetings. However, I wonder why the DA has taken so long to expel the individual. Firstly, they took a while to suspend him. Now it's been weeks, and the man is still part of the DA.
I must tell you something. It's something that we had raised, and myself and Temba and Keys, my producers, discussing it the other day to say, hold it, we need to find exactly what the story is. So, in fact, what you've done, you've put it on the agenda. And you've also raised the national pulse rate just by us listening. Like, what actually is the story? It's not even about what's allowed. It's like, should they allow it in the first place? And I certainly get what you're saying, Kirk. Thank you. I've made a note. All right? Kirk got that. Made a note. Let's get to some of the WhatsApp. There's another caller, KG in Bloom. Hi, KG.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, this issue by the mayor of Johannesburg, it just goes on to display the sheer incompetence and madness of people that we put in positions of authority. And for me, it tells us that the former ruling party has got no intention, none whatsoever, to deal comprehensively, accordingly, and successfully with the problem of migration, legal and illegal, in the city of Johannesburg. Because if there is any intention, none whatsoever, to deal with that problem the way it should, this congestion should not arise at all. Because you enforce the laws of our country, you get all people who are illegally in this country out, and then ultimately everything will be in good order. There will not be anybody. But if you've made a decision in advance to say, we are going to keep these people here, then we'll come with this ridiculous suggestions that is put forward by this character, Dada Morero.
Okay, I got that. I don't know whether some may say ridiculous or not, but I mean, I get what you're saying. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, clearly he's out of sync, and you would wonder whether his advisors would advise him before he publicly pronounces on a certain issue. Although it was a suggestion, I hear that, but it certainly puts him effectively offside, I would think, isn't it? It puts him offside in terms of the reality of what is agreed upon with his own party as well as nationally. Not a good start for Joburg's mayor, right? So we touched on the issue of the CEO of Telegram. It's so much more complicated than that, just in terms of where that is, but in terms of the other geopolitics, of the region, right? So let's now talk about the Ukraine, where Russia is carrying out a massive aerial attack on the Ukraine, and apparently this happened earlier today. The BBC's Abdul Jalil has more on the story.
The drones and missiles headed to a number of regions across Ukraine, including the western region of Lviv, in the south of the city of Odessa, in the north, as well as the capital Kyiv as well. In the early hours today, the Ukrainian Air Force warned its citizens, saying that Russian bombers, more than a dozen of Russian bombers that could carry cruise missiles, were in the air. And already at that time we were getting reports about Shahed drones, several dozens of drones heading towards different regions. And shortly after we heard explosions in the skies over Kiev, and it sounded like it was air defense systems engaging those drones and missiles. We still don't know the exact scale of the damage following this attack, and so far we only heard about 3 people who got killed during the attack, but clearly this number could rise later today. And what is interesting is that this attack happened early in the morning when people were still getting up, they were still at home, and some of them were already driving towards work. So a lot of people were caught off guard when the attack happened, and not everyone were able to get to the shelter, to the bomb shelters. And even though the warning did come early enough, some people may simply had no time to get to the shelter.
Yeah, we have seen pictures of people in Kyiv going down into the subway. Of course, at the start of the conflict, this was a regular occurrence where they went down into those shelters, but there has been a relative calm at times. So this, an escalation from Russia. Do you think this is related to the fact that Ukraine has gone into Russian territory over the last month?
Well, such aerial attacks have been happening frequently. It's not the first time when Russia launches such a massive attack targeting different cities in Ukraine. And of course the timing of this attack is happening shortly after the Ukrainian incursion in Russia's Kursk region. And some observers are linking this attack to those events, but such as that attacks, as I said, have been happening before as well. So it's really hard to say whether it's linked directly to those events happening in Kursk region, but Russia have been targeting the energy infrastructure of Ukraine. They've been targeting other areas in this country a lot, and just yesterday they hit a hotel in the city of Kramatorsk in eastern Ukraine, where several journalists were injured, including a British security advisor who was part of the Reuters team, who was there as well. He was killed in the attack.
I've just seen Ukraine's presidential chief of staff is calling on Kyiv's allies to allow long-range strikes on Russia after Moscow's attack. This is what Kyiv would like, isn't it? The Western governments who've given them the jets and the ammunition to allow them to attack Russia.
That is right. Ukraine have been repeatedly asking its allies to provide them long-range missiles to hit the targets inside Russia, including the airfields where those jets and bombers take off to attack Ukrainian cities. And Ukraine was saying that if they do get those weapons, it would allow them to defend its cities, to defend its citizens much better, and prevent those aerial attacks, including prevent the attacks using cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, because they could target the airfields and the air bases. And of course, some of the countries like the US allowed to use ATACMS long-range missiles, but also they limited to what extent they could use those weapons. So they limited the range, and they could only use those weapons within the border areas and not further. and therefore Ukraine is asking now to give them long-range weapons such as storm shadows with and other weapons that could hit a target deep inside Russia, and this would allow, as they say, to protect the cities.
And just talking on the back of that, I found a tweet from George Galloway quite significant in terms of what he says. He says, today, referring to yesterday, okay, today could scarcely be a more significant one. The Middle East war has begun. A coup has been executed in France. Across the Western world, journalists are being arrested. The founder of Telegram has been seized off a plane. It is an omni-crisis. Parliament and the MSM have fallen silent. Tonight of all nights, well, he's saying that's what it is. So, and then talks about other things. But let's leave it at that. I mean, is he right in terms of there seems to be turmoil just about everywhere we go, just about everything we think about? Here's a question about something back home.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I don't agree with the new Joburg mayor. I just wish for him to be removed, because if you talk about languages, we have got 12 official languages in South Africa, yet we are failing to understand each other, how to greet each other in a taxi. Yet he's speaking that he will rather employ foreigners to do the job to interpret other languages which are not South African, yet we are failing to interpret our own languages. I think this mayor must be removed. We don't like his view. Brian Mabai, Protea Glen. Thanks for the great show.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you can say we don't like it. Just say maybe I don't like it, because that's clearly your opinion. Here's another.
Ashraf, my take on the Joburg mayor is that Dada is just making a strategic retreat. That's my take on this. Thank you. This is Luzugende, Eastern Cape.
Okay, and then after that strategic retreat, what happens next? I mean, take us into your confidence. You tell us.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
British supergroup Smokey is touring South Africa in September. Party of the year with Mexican Girl, Needles and Pins, and of course, living next door to Alice. Smokey in South Africa. Cape Town 18 September, Pretoria 20 September, Port Elizabeth 21 September, and Carnival City on 22 September. Bookings at aerotickets.coza, 011 815 3000 or smoky.coza.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
By the way, I did tell you can join the National Pulse WhatsApp channel. And that's a channel which allows you to get messages. Well, when I say messages, I mean alerts directly. Alerts of interviews coming up, of the podcast that we have, some other pictures that we can get. We can get it sent to you to your WhatsApp directly. If you want to join in, just WhatsApp us now, 0614 104 107. Just say WhatsApp the National Pulse group, and we'll certainly add you to that channel, right? Okay, let's get into other issues now. The 5 men accused of the murder of the former Bafana and Orlando Pirates captain Senzo Meyiwa they're back in court at the Pretoria High Court, that is. Early on, we understand that Lieutenant Colonel Christian Mangena was scheduled for cross-examination, but proceedings were delayed due to missing transcripts. Talking about drama upon drama, right? Now, the SABC News reporter Pearl Magubani has been covering the story, and she joins us now. Pearl, good, as always, good talking to you on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and to the listeners.
Thank you. I already said drama just regarding the missing transcripts. I mean, is that the height of the drama, or there's more than that?
Yes, that is the drama, which I must say, Judge Ratamokwa King said in the 50 years of being in the legal fraternity, it's the first time that he witnesses or hears that there's some transcripts that were missing from the evidence. And what we heard from the state was that this was crucial evidence. And when they sat and they spent most of the morning listening to the recordings of the 30th of August last year, then they found out that it was an hour, about close to an hour, but 54 minutes of those transcripts that were not available on the record.
So how can that be? I mean, did they offer an explanation?
Well, no, we had to call, the judge ordered that the company that's in charge of the transcripts be called so that they make sure that they work overnight and provide those transcripts. Everybody was baffled by this, including the prosecutor himself, saying that it's a rare occurrence. And when they listen back, they do realize that on that third day, there was a long adjournment, and then that 54 minutes was after that long adjournment. So one could assume that the person that was listening at the day was under the impression that the proceedings might have ended when the long adjournment happened. But they did promise the judge on the speakerphone, which was then in court, that they will work overnight and ensure that that 54 minutes that they is available first thing in the morning.
Okay, so that's the no news made the news. What else made the news today?
I mean, it's just that part, because simply Mangena the matter was sent down. His testimony has been stood down for over a year, and it's been postponed continuously because the defense was not ready, asking for more time to consult with their own independent ballistic expert before they can cross-examine. So it's also a different or unheard scenario where somebody testifies and the matter is stood down and they come back only after a year of testifying. And we do know that the defense also needed to refresh themselves of that evidence, as it does link, according to Mangena, one of the accused to the murder weapons that were killed Senzo Meyiwa.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add for today?
We hope that we'll proceed as planned tomorrow morning, and because the state did ask for the matter to be postponed till Wednesday, but the judge felt that there's just too many delays and he can't afford to delay the matter any further, and ordered everybody to be ready by first thing in the morning.
And I think the judge may well be right. I appreciate your time as always, Pearl Magubani. We'll chat to you tomorrow. I'm sure of that, right? Okay, let's move on to other things. Lots of interest. First of all, I'll put a question to you. What do you make of the ANC in the light of what's happened with Dada Morero, as well as then the rebuttal from the Premier and, of course, his own chair in the region regarding the pronouncements around the hiring of foreign nationals? Just one word, and then you can give an explanation. You can also post it on social media, right?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf Garda. This is Akimateola. Yeah, again, yes, trying to apologize, but my question is, what was he thinking? This proposal, where it comes from in his heart when we're having unemployment people in South Africa? Is he going to employ each and every person in South Africa because of language barrier? How many countries do we have in the continent? Now this guy Dada Morero, his apology doesn't come well to me. This is my table.
Okay, that's another comment. Let's get another call, and that's Akarashin in Pretoria. Hello.
Hello, Ashraf.
Yeah, you're live. Go ahead. How are you?
Hey, I'm okay, and you?
I'm good. Go for it.
Yeah, concerning this issue of Dada Morero, I think there is a narrative that's being driven that most foreigners in Johannesburg, be they documented or not documented, are the ones committing crime. So to me, I feel that was where Adam Morero is coming from. He looked at it and said, since there's much crime in the city, they should try to involve for us to work with the Metro Police in Joburg so as to fight crime. Well, I think that's the way Dada Morero looked at it. And this morning I was very disappointed with Funze Ngobeni because he and Herman Machar are actually against foreigners, be they documented or undocumented.
Okay. All right. Your line's breaking up, so we're going to have to move on, I'm afraid. Thank you for that contribution. Here's another comment, one word, and this is an interesting one. Danda Morero, spelled D-U-N-D-E-R. Danda Morero. People being very creative with their one word. Lots of people asking to get onto the National Pulse channel, which is fabulous. Please do that. Just WhatsApp us if you want to get onto the National Pulse WhatsApp channel, which gives you alerts directly to your mobile phone every single day. 0614 104 107. Just say, add me to channel. Simple as that. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Madupi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garda. The top story is this hour: billions of rand owed to Eskom, and Joburg Mayor's funds promise is welcomed. A very good afternoon. Electricity Minister Khosientsho Ramokgopa says although municipalities' electricity debt to Eskom sits at a high level of 78 billion rand, the 347 billion owed to municipalities by various customers, including residents and businesses, is more concerning. Speaking at the Just Energy Transition Conference in Midrand, Ramokgopa says municipalities are also empowered to source clean energy solutions directly from independent power producers.
As a starting point, national government departments, provincial government departments must pay municipalities. If you were to start there, I think you'll find that a big chunk of that 47 billion or so will be paid. I know what a mayor goes through when you are trying to balance the book. You are sitting with provincial government, national government. They have the money because really they are drawing from the National Revenue Fund.
Human Settlements Minister Mamoloko Kubai says her department is embarking on a forensic investigation into alleged syndicates' involvement in the sales of RDP houses. She says it's concerning that, despite the many houses built, the demand for housing continues. Kubai says the selling of houses within the first 8 years of receiving them is illegal, and the occupation of houses by foreign nationals is prevalent. The department is working with legal firms and forensic investigators to conduct an asset register and management of the houses. Kubai briefed the media in Pretoria on the increasing difficulty of the missing middle to access housing due to high interest rates, indebtedness, and the affordability of housing, amongst others. The City of Joburg's MMC for Public Safety has welcomed Mayor Dada Morero's promise to unlock funds that will allow the city to provide transitional accommodation. 4 people were killed and 3 others injured in a fire at a hijacked building in Jeppies Town in the CBD at the weekend. 200 others were displaced. MMC Mqinetswaku explains their plan.
I'm happy that the mayor said that he's going to unlock the money from national. It's transitional accommodation, bro. I can take these people today. I can do that. There's nothing very dangerous here. I can get in with a few guys. Say, people, let's go. But the problem, the law does not permit us to take people and put them on the streets. We must put them somewhere. Let the national unlock the funding so that we are able to do the transitional accommodation for Abantu.
The legal representative of Morwadi Cholota has told the Free State High Court in Bloemfontein that they brought the urgent application to be able to obtain substantial redress on the matter before the pre-trial in September. Advocate Loyiso Makapela stated that there was no reason for them to delay the matter. The court is hearing Cholota's urgent application to have her arrest declared unlawful and unconstitutional. The former personal assistant to the then Free State Premier Ace Magashule argues that the 255 million rand asbestos corruption and fraud charges against her emerged from her refusal to comply with the state's demands for specific testimony on the case. The 37-year-old is asking the court to deem the charges against her invalid and to withdraw them. The case continues. And the UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, says that it is taking more than 1 million doses of polio vaccines into Gaza. This comes after the first case of polio in 25 years was confirmed in Gaza last week. More from the BBC's Sebastian Asher.
UNICEF says it will work with two other UN agencies, UNRWA and the WHO, in a campaign to vaccinate more than 640,000 children in Gaza. Traces of a polio virus were detected in earth samples last month. It's since been confirmed that a 10-month-old baby has contracted the disease and is partly paralyzed. The UN has called for 2 7-day pauses in the fighting to administer the vaccinations. It says that without this, it will be impossible to reach all the children at risk in Gaza.
The top story this hour, Electricity Minister Khosientsho Ramokgopa says although municipalities' electricity debt to Eskom sits at a high level of 78 billion rand, the 347 billion owed to municipalities by various customers, including residents and businesses, is more concerning. For SAFM News, Gemudupi Makhalemele.
In sports this hour, Pakistan and Bangladesh fined for slow over rates in first test, and Rivero expects to see improved numbers from Karim Kimvidi. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N2 eastbound in central Johannesburg has delays towards Crown Interchange. The N1 northbound in Weltevreden Park has a crash reported after 14th Avenue exit. And the N1 in Midrand has a veld fire reported with smoke affecting visibility between Olifantsfontein Road and Samrand Road. So please reduce your speeds and drive with absolute care. In KZN, the N2 southbound is queuing through Amanzimtoti. The N3 westbound has a stationary truck at Linfield Park. The N2 northbound has a stationary truck after Spaghetti Junction, and Umgeni Road is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M5 southbound queuing towards Racecourse Road exit. Batencrag Street outbound in the CBD is slow moving towards the elevated freeway, and Voortrekker Road eastbound in Maitland has a stationary truck reported near the container storage yard. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the top 8 take on a new challenge. This week, they delve into the world of social media and learn what it takes for a recipe video to go viral online. Working together, they must create their own unique version of a famous social media bake. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on SABC2.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Welcome to the second half of the second hour of the National Pulse. And again, the question to be asking you is what moves the National Pulse today? What are the big issues that has a huge impact on what drives the pulse of the nation and gets you thinking about all the things that you think? And I do the same thing as well. We'll be chatting pretty shortly about the Just Energy Transition Conference that comes up. We'll talk about that. Tell me, Ms. Y, coming up later on around personal growth, on how to create opportunities. I'm really looking forward to that. And regarding the whole issue about Johannesburg with Dada Morero and Panyaza Lusufi, well, we'll chat after 5 o'clock, but listen out for that now. Make a note. Teboko Ditsecha, we'll talk about it just in terms of the brand communication impact that it has when two senior people within a party have very, very different opinions. But let me just start now with the That's My Point feature, right? So yesterday was my my uncle's birthday, Ashraf Garda, pretty well known as a cricket writer, as a historian, as a public speaker. But now I'm not going to wish him happy birthday. That's all done. Here's the thing that I want to talk about. One thing about him that's quite remarkable is this: when you meet him, there's about 4 questions he asks you. One, he says, he always does this with anybody: what are you reading? And the other one is like, I've got this book of quotes. Have you seen these quotes? And do you have any great quotes you can add to this? And the third one, he's got his man-made, his own scribbled dictionary of words, real words that he needs to know, and he's written them all down. And again, he'd want you to add to those words, or maybe he'd ask you, do you start your own one? And then the fourth one he'd ask, he's like, when are you coming home? Not to eat. When are you coming home to visit my library? So this is my point. Why am I saying that? I want to know from you, do you have an example of an uncle or aunt, an elder in your family, who, whenever you meet them, they just share wisdom and nuggets, gold nuggets, by asking you certain things or telling you things every time you meet them? And at that point, it's rather irritating, maybe, because they ask you the same things. But over a period of time, you realize, you know what? They are provoking my thoughts, and in fact, they are growing me in ways that I would not have grown without them. I'm sure you have that uncle. I'm sure you have that aunt. What I want to know from you is like, come on, share it with me. Do you agree with me that they have a huge impact on growing communities in ways we can never imagine? Well, for now, that's my points. Now you tell me what's yours.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So to add to that, I mean, I've given my one example of an uncle who's able to provoke thought-provoking, incredibly thought-provoking all the time. You have that person, I want to know about it. You can comment by calling in 086 000 2032. You can post it on social media, Facebook as well as the Twitter X platform. Anytime, tag me as well, Ashraf Garda. And then a voice note, 0614 104 107. You can also text us as well on that same WhatsApp number. Right, let's talk about the Just Energy Transition Municipal Conference. President Ramaphosa has been rather busy. He's highlighted the important role of municipalities themselves play in effort to transform the country's energy sector. Now, the President was speaking at the Just Energy Transition Municipal Conference in Midrand, right? That was today. Now, 165 municipalities are electricity service providers operating approximately half of South Africa's distribution grid. So let's try and understand what all this means. The SABC News reporter Naledi Ngobo is with me. Naledi has attended the conference. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Thank you. How significant is this conference?
Well, it seems to be pretty significant, Ashraf, especially when you consider the fact that on a national point of view, the government is really taking big steps to try and move into this decarbonization or a less carbon-intense economy. And so they're saying that when they're doing that at a national level, they need to start moving that process down to the municipal and local level, because essentially, it's going to be more and more difficult for South Africa to trade with some of its biggest trading partners like, EU and various other international countries, because they're starting to impose these carbon border adjustments, whereby, if you're going to be exporting or importing with them, and you've got high carbon emissions on the products that you are exporting to them, you're going to be charged a surcharge. There's going to be, a bigger tariff that you're going to have to be paying to be able to sell them those products. And so they're saying the sooner we can start seeing the movement from this to decarbonize our economy, sooner than later, the better.
And therefore, just to understand, when we talk about just energy, what is your understanding of that?
Well, my understanding certainly is that there has to be, a benefit for communities and workers within this transition that we're making, because you'll remember that currently we depend heavily on fossil fuel, particularly for generating our own energy. And that industry employs a number of people. If you think about the coal sector on its own, you've got, hundreds of thousands of people still operating in that area. And so to move now and say, okay, we're not using fossil fuels anymore, we're going to cleaner sources of the energy, we're going to hydrogen, we're going to solar, we're going to wind, people need to know what to do and how to operate in those economies. They need to know how to, work a windmill. They need to know what it means to work, to produce a solar PV as well. And so it means that there needs to be skills, and there needs to be some training that is provided essentially to communities and workers that rely and have for years relied on the fossil fuel economy.
So what then has come out of the conference? I mean, maybe starting firstly, we'll talk about others in a moment. What did the president say?
Well, the president really spoke about, how important it will be to capacitate municipalities to make sure that they're actually ready for this. Municipalities have a range of issues, and one of their biggest issues is going to be funding. Already we know that they're struggling with a huge debt, and not just from residents only. We understand that their debt is around those that owe municipalities, owe them to the tune of 340-something billion rand that they still owe them. And so that means municipalities also owe now ESCOM. So the funding issue is going to be a big thing, making sure that we've got investors, international investors, we've got government, everybody playing their part to make sure that municipalities can actually participate in providing cleaner sources of energy.
Okay. Anything else come out of it? I mean, some key takeouts?
Well, we do understand that, there's going to be this Just Transition Municipal Forum, and it's going to essentially be an oversight body, making sure that programs that are aligned to the Just Energy Transition are actually implemented by municipalities. We understand that this body is essentially going to be made up of government agencies. We're going to see the DSA, National Treasury, everybody there trying to put their resources together to make sure that they are supporting municipalities with the training that they need, with the funding that they need, and all the resources that they need to really make sure that they implement the programs that are aligned to the Just Energy Transition.
Okay, lastly, anything surprise you today?
I feel like this is a lot of information that we've probably heard before, but I think the whole move of really trying to, get municipalities involved is really important. I mean, if we also listen to the presentation of Khosi Ntshagamukgopa, who is the Energy and Electricity Minister, he was also, putting a lot of emphasis on the fact that you can't have these very lofty ideas of what municipalities can do when you, as national government and provisional governments, are not even paying municipalities. So before we start pointing fingers at residents and businesses and everybody who owes municipalities, he said it needs to start with government. And there shouldn't have to be a national directive or legislation that makes people pay. Government departments should feel the responsibility to make sure that they are paying municipalities what they owe them.
Okay, as you said, it's not a news story, but it's certainly an issue we cannot ignore because, climate change and its impact, therefore, on the economies and just civilization in general is such a big issue. Appreciate your time, Naledi Ngobo. Thanks for that, and I'm sure we'll talk sometime soon and once again, right? Let's take your calls after this.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
So someone said, I wish I had an uncle like that, or I don't have that sort of an uncle. And let me put that to you again. Do you have someone in your family where every time you interact with them, there's just words of wisdom and they give you some practical examples that you then realize, hold it, man, this is just so inspiring indeed. So do you have that person? Just let me know, right? Here's another one. Ashraf, first time, please respond about allowing foreigners to work in South Africa. My pulse does a backflip because the news does not talk about jobs for 36 and over, but job creation was the drawing card when garnering for votes. I'm really not sure I get what you're trying to say. I mean, you're saying like three things. I understand there's a sense of frustration, but I'm really not totally clear. Maybe send a voice note. I'd love to know more, and maybe call in. I'd love to engage with you. Okay, Sibuyile has certainly done that. In Poch, hello, welcome. You're on the National Pulse. Yeah, good talking to you. Go ahead. What's your point?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on Dara Morero.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dara Morero. One word for Dara Morero, Ashra, is clown. Dara Morero is a clown because this is the same mayor that was involved in the previous that promised Joburg resident to install Jojo 10 for every household. I mean, how can you insult such a South African, particularly for unemployment rate, with a high number like this? So one word for Dara Morero is the clown of the century.
Okay. Clown of the century. So you added one word to made it 4 words. Another one worder, I mean, and I really like the one worders. It just works so clearly because it gets us all to think, doesn't it? So what's your one word for you to reflect on the issues within the ANC in the city of Joburg in particular, with regard to the mayor and what he said about hiring foreign nationals to assist with translations or the JMPD, and then the rebuttal coming from his political head, as well as the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi. So we've had clown, we've had incoherent, we've had a few more. Just give me more of your one-worders. There's also many others WhatsApping us, which is just great. Let me just pick up. Here's one on that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Faisal Fidalia from Kimberley. Dada Morero is on another level, and Panyaza Lesufi is on another level. There's no communication in this GNU. No one knows what's going on. Someone says this, the other ones apologize. The other one says that one still needs to apologize. This is madness is happening. Thank you, Ashraf.
But maybe it's not so mad. Maybe it just shows that, hey, listen, it's a democracy and they have different views and they come together and they can say sorry. I mean, they're not enemies. They say sorry and they move on. Isn't that the maturity of a democracy? Just think about that too. Oh, yes, don't forget the National Pulse channel on WhatsApp. Do you want to join in? Just WhatsApp us 0614 104 107. Just say join channel.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak, and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Here he comes. Hello, guys. You're so dramatic. Hey, bro, it's not me. It's the extra styling kit. The leather seats with the red finish. It's the tow bar, all coming standard with my red Isuzu badge. Wow, now that is extra.
Why be standard when you can get the all-new Isuzu D-Max X Rider from just 8,742 Rand. Prime less 3.5%, 0% deposit, 40% balloon, and 72 months to pay. Get yours today. Finance is subject to approval. Isuzu Finance, a product of Westbank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
The Buccaneers are highly against anything that will prevent them from getting to the final as they chase their third consecutive title. But the citizens are on a mission to spoil that party. This is the second leg of the MTN 8 semi-final. Defending champs Orlando Pirates FC tackle Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 31 August at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, looking forward to a conversation with Dr. Tommy Mazwai just now about how opportunities emerge in the environment. It's part of our weekly Monday personal growth feature, so do not miss that. Talking about growth, let's talk about the National Informal Traders Alliance of South Africa. Well, they are pushing back against the reintroduction of the Tobacco Products and Electronic Delivery Systems Control Bill in the new Parliament. So why are they doing that? What does this mean? Let's find out more about it with Samuel Madikoto, who's the National Informal Traders Alliance of South Africa's Secretary General. Samuel, appreciate your time. You're live with the National Pulse.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So tell us what is the issue that you have for you to push back against the reintroduction of the tobacco bill?
We have a problem that there were some other things that we think they were not done very well. And also considering the fact that now, because we are in another form of governance now, so that are some of the things, because we just wanted that process to start afresh, so that some of the things will be looked at, like the through assessment of the bill, the impact of the bill on the informal traders or in the informal economy. And also there are some other things that we look at, like just now in the tobacco industry, we have a lot of illicit tobacco in that. So those are some of the things that we have a feeling that
help us understand. I mean, what's you say the impact of the bill? What is your understanding of how will the bill impact your grouping, the National Informal Traders Alliance?
You know, the bill, the tobacco is one of the products that most of our members are surviving from. And now, when you look at how they structure the bill, that totally it totally take away all that the benefits that the people from the informal sector are getting. They put more restrictions on them, other than the big businesses.
Okay, so what would you like? What for you is the win-win solution then?
No, we think. Yes, we agree. We agree on everything they are saying about the tobacco, but we are saying also, since that tobacco is affecting the big businesses, the people in the big businesses, and then also the people in the informal economy, when we put the restrictions, those restrictions they must also put into consideration the informal traders or people in the informal economy.
Okay, so help us understand how, when you say take into consideration the informal traders, like what would you want to have done that shows that there's a greater concern and compassion for the informal traders?
The nature of our business is that we buy things in a bigger sense, and then we sell them in a smaller scale. So the bill says we cannot sell that tobacco single loose through like we used to do that, and that now makes the thing difficult. There's how they wanted the tobacco to be handled when you sell it. It's also making things difficult. On that as well, even if we don't sell that tobacco, but somebody stands next to the bill says somebody stands next to your stand where you are selling, and then smoke that, and then that person who's trading there must be liable for that person who's just come and then smoke next to him.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Thanks for that. Let's see what happens next. Samuel Madikoto, the National Informal Traders Alliance of South Africa's Secretary General. There's a range of other comments that we've certainly gotten. Many people wanting to join the National Pulse WhatsApp channel. Keep it coming. Just join channel is a message, 0614 104 107. Let's really get those numbers up in terms of many people joining in. Right, comments. This is not going away.
Good afternoon, Mr. Garda.
No, one word for this mayor, Morero, unpatriotic. That's all I can say about him, because there's a lot of people who are not working in South Africa. I don't know what he was thinking. This is Bungani from Tepen.
Right, let me see if I can get another quick call with Active Citizen. Hello, Active Citizen. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very good indeed. Go ahead. What's your point?
Dada Morero and Panyasa Lusufi are ANC members during the day and EFF members during the night. They are pushing the agenda of foreign nationals, and they are on the payroll of Alex Mafia, who have got an unsigned alliance with EFF. This must come to an end. When EFF, Julius Malema was talking about the EFF members during the day and then MKP members during the night, he was talking about what he knows from this Alex Mafias. Thank you.
Okay, there you are, loud and clear. Silly, sort of an emphatic statement around the issue, right? Here's another one, Ashraf. I think regarding the message on employment of people of 36 plus age means to being above that age is not being considered for employment. He feels it's those fellows below that age that are being prioritized from Moon. I mean, is that true that the people below the age of 36 are being prioritized, and if you're over 35, 36, you're already over the hill in terms of getting jobs in certain positions? Well, I'll tell you what, if you have a personal anecdote that you'd like to share, your personal story about how it's impacted on you, cut out the bureaucracy. Just give me your story. I want to hear about it. WhatsApp, voice note 0614 104 107 to call in 086 000 2032. Here's the news headlines with Madupi.
Much Ashraf, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines, Asawa, the Free State High Court has dismissed the urgent application of Muradi Cholota with costs. Science and Technology Minister Bladen Zamande has told the Bio-Africa Convention in Durban that he'll be presenting the Vaccine Innovation Manufacturing Strategy to Cabinet in the coming months. And the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is visiting the western city of Solingen to commemorate the victims of the stabbing, in which 3 people were killed and 8 others wounded on Friday. And those are your headlines. A full news update with Greg at 5.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Bedfordview has a crash reported near Van Buren Road, and the N1 in Midrand has a veld fire reported with smoke affecting visibility between Olifantsfontein Road and Samrand Road, so reduce speeds and drive with care. In KZN, the N3 is queuing on the link to the N2 north at Spaghetti Junction. The N2 southbound is queuing through Amanzim Toti, and the N3 westbound has a stationary truck reported at Linfield Park. In the Eastern Cape, the N2 southbound has one lane open approaching the M4 Settlers West Split due to flood recovery work, so expect delays there. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound is slow moving towards Kuburg interchange. The N2 outbound has a crash reported at the R300 interchange. The M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive, and the M5 southbound is slow moving towards Artery Road exit. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Kapele.
Right, let's get to sport as always with our Minister of Sport. Someone reminded me. To me, let's talk football.
Righty, let's start things off with the Orlando Pirates head coach Jose Rivero saying that he expects to see Democratic Republic of Congo's international attacker Karim Kimvuidi making full use of the chances he gets this season. Rivero was speaking after seeing him come on in the second half to score during that 4-0 demolition of the Disciples in the CAF Champions League first preliminary round second leg encounter at the Orlando Stadium on Friday. Kimvuidi has played a total of 60 minutes in 3 matches coming from the bench so far this season, and Rivera expects to see more from the 22-year-old.
I think it can only help him to use the time that he's getting. It's difficult to get play time in this group, especially in the position where Karim used to play, in one of the 3 players up front, one of the 3 forwards. Today he play in a slightly different space than the space that he used to play. That's what the players need to do whenever they are coming to the field. 10 minutes, 12, 15, 20, 30. Show who they are as a football players, who they are during the week in the training, how well prepared they are, and don't miss your opportunities.
Elsewhere, former England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson has died at the age of 76. Eriksson, who was the first non-British manager of the England team, led the Three Lions to the quarterfinals at 3 major tournaments during his 5-year spell in charge between 2001 and 2006. In January, Eriksson said that he had at best a year to live after being diagnosed with cancer, and his children said on Monday that their father fell asleep peacefully in his home this morning. Then moving on to tennis. Emma Raducanu has handed a nasty-looking draw, or has been handed a nasty-looking draw at the US Open as she looks for her first win in New York since winning the title in 2021. The 21-year-old shocked the world when she won at Flushing Meadows 3 years ago, but lost in the first round in 2022 and then missed last year with injury. The draw has been unkind to the British number 2, who has been drawn up against Sophia Kenin, currently ranked 55th in the first round.
Yeah, I feel a lot better. I feel very proud when I come here. I mean, walking past my photo every day, walking past my name on the trophy every day, I think that's such an epic achievement. And, you know, these 2 weeks I completed it. So for me, coming back here now, I come back with such a different outlook and just, joy and proudness, and it inspires me to want to do more. Yeah, I would say I was a lot more nervous, and I think I felt pressure more. I think it's natural. I still didn't really come to terms, and I think overall now I'm just in a lot more solid and consistent state than I was when I came back last time.
In cricket, Pakistan and Bangladesh have been fined and docked World Test Championship points over slow over raids during the first test. Bangladesh achieved their first victory over Pakistan in 14 tests with a thumping 10-wicket win yesterday after both teams struggled in hot conditions. And Pakistan players were also fined 30% of their match fee, and the Bangladesh is 15%. Then moving on to athletics, South African teenage 400-meter hurdle sensation Dumira Mokgopa is relishing her World Under-20 Championship debut in Peru, which is starting from tomorrow until the 31st of August. The 16-year-old, who hails from Prestige College in Tshwane, is basically focusing on gaining valuable experience on the global stage, but she's keeping her expectations in check.
Well, I don't want to be too much in my head, but honestly, to see how I've been training and how I've been progressing, I'm looking into getting to a final, and if I do, I hope I do, whatever happens in the final happens. I will be there knowing that I did this only because I wanted to, and I want to be the star of the game. And it is my first World Juniors. I'm not expecting big things. If a medal comes out, then it comes out, then it's possible. But I'm also expecting a new PB as well. Maybe another record. Who knows?
And finally, the International Paralympic Committee announced today that 88 Russian competitors will take part under a neutral banner at the Paris Paralympics. The games, which get underway on Wednesday, will also feature 8 Belarusian competing as neutrals. Para-athletes from Russia and Belarus must compete under a neutral banner after being largely banned from world sport following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Paralympians from Russia and Belarus will, however, not be permitted to take part in Wednesday's opening ceremony in central Paris. On that note, is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Just a quick thought. I mean, have you followed much of the career of Sven-Göran Eriksson?
Not really. However, I do know that he made history by being the non-British first English manager.
Quite a charismatic, and I think a good chummy of David Beckham, if I'm not mistaken, but quite charismatic. But interesting, I mean, I know he's passed on, but he sent out a message like 3-4 days ago. Did you see that? Like his goodbye message. Yeah. And then he knew he was going,
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, at the beginning of the year, he was saying that his best has a year. And I mean, that's the thing when you have diseases like cancer.
Yeah, well, there we are. I mean, just to move on to something. Okay, thank you for that. Here's the thought, not just about sport, but other things in life. Do you find that you, like Sven-Göran Eriksson, there are too many people who don't ever say their goodbye, and because they just hold back? Because if you know someone who said a goodbye before they lost their lives, then tell us about it. I'd love to know. just so that we can learn from what they said. Or
But
we
hold
felt
back
they didn't.
how? What do you mean they hold back? They know that the time is
but
coming.
they don't give a goodbye message.
Oh, I see.
Because some of them, of course, die very suddenly. But those who are dying, they do give out a goodbye message, like Sven-Göran Eriksson. And that's
Perhaps
really
they don't
important.
want to depress their family members.
Well, I understand. I mean, that's what I'm trying to learn. You as a family, have you had that experience, and what is that experience for you? Just let me know. Right, more sports and other things in an hour. Thanks to me.
Really.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Hey Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
Since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
The Citizens are fueled up to grind a very important win in the first 90 minutes against the Buccaneers. But the big boys from Orlando are just too hungry to triumph and leave the mother city painted in black and white. Bonke bathi, siya phambili. This is the first leg of the MTN 8 semi-final. Wafa wafa. Cape Town City FC battles it out with Orlando Pirates on Tuesday, 27 August at 7 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 3 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to those markets now with Makwe Masilela, the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Good chatting to you as always. So we've got two things, the local and global markets coming up. But first of all, interesting thoughts on what? Stadio Holdings. Tell me about them.
Yeah, Ashraf, this is a higher education provider. The guys benefited from growth in student numbers for both distance learning and contact learning, and that was driven by strong demand, Ashraf, when it comes to professional qualifications. Revenue up 16%, student numbers in semester one increased by 10%, and their core headline earnings per share up 19%. No interim dividends as the guys paid them yearly, and the world shares, Ashraf, gained on Friday, just shy of all-time highs, while the dollar languished around one-year lows after the speech by the world's most powerful central banker confirmed that the U.S. will soon begin interest rate cuts. Traders will be watching the U.S. personal consumption and core inflation due on Friday, but the jobs report on September the 6th is clearly important as the U.S. Fed chair is willing to cut rates to ward off downside risk when it comes to employment and maintain a strong labor market, and China left their key interest rate unchanged. Ashraf, traders started the week cautiously in anticipation of the Middle East tension, and we've seen that Nigeria's economy grew at a faster pace in Q2, helped by higher oil production, and oil advanced after Middle East tensions escalated, and Libya's eastern government said it will halt exports. Brent crude is up 3% at $81 a barrel, and the yellow metal edged towards a fresh record, and that's on expectation of US rate cuts. Lower borrowing costs, Ashraf, typically increase the attractiveness of gold, which doesn't pay interest. We see gold is up 0.3% at 2,516. Platinum is up 0.8% at 170. In the US and European markets are mixed, with the JSE flat, but our financials are up 1%, with resources just like industrials down 0.5%. The rand is flat, 17.71 to the US dollar, 23.37 to the pound, and 19.77 to the euro.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that, Makwe. We'll chat again tomorrow. Appreciate it. Another market update coming up just after 5:30. Listen out for that. Okay, I'll take your calls. Basically, I'll take your comments, whatever it is you want to get off your chest, whatever it is that gets your pulse rate moving, because we always reflect what is it that moves the national pulse today. Let's do that next.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation. Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Lots of people want to join the WhatsApp channel called The National Pulse on WhatsApp to get alerts. Please do say if you're keen on that. 0614 104 107. Well, please be keen. I'm certainly joined in as well. You can do it, get your alerts, just say join channel, right? Okay, talking about WhatsApp, let's get further thoughts from you. And again, as always, we have a diversity of opinions from around the country and often from around the world as well. And then I remind you, if you're up to those daily pictures that you take about where you are listening with your dial locked into SAFM, well, share those pictures, tweet it out, but WhatsApp it out as well. Here's the ANC foreigner story.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. Hey, can you help me here, brother? There is this guy who was the mayor of Johannesburg. His surname is Matongo. How come the ANC didn't say he's a foreigner that time he was sworn in as the mayor of Johannesburg? I'm also a foreigner, but I'm just curious. Eddie in Rustenburg.
Okay, Eddie, let's find out the story before I comment on that, because I don't want to be commenting out of turn there. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf Garda. This is Akimatewona. Yeah, again, yes, trying to apologize, but my question is, what was he thinking? This proposal, where it comes from in his heart when we're having unemployment people in South Africa? Is he going to employ each and every person in South Africa because of language barrier? How many countries do we have in the continent? Now this guy Dada Morero, his apology doesn't come well to me. These are my table.
Okay, let's get to some of the calls. KD in the Northern Cape. Hello, KD. KD, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, KD, you're live. Go ahead.
I just want to comment on what I'm picking up, really, people saying. I think that we should emphasize that when someone is a documented foreigner, it's possible that they are naturalized South Africans and they are citizens of this nation. So I think people should not think that if someone is a foreigner 20 years ago, he is still one now. If they are registered with Home Affairs as South African citizens, nothing stops them from being employed.
Well, I completely agree with you. So you see, but this is the point. It's not about what I think. I mean, I've always had the opinion. In fact, my view has always been, if you live in South Africa, and this is just my own Home Affairs, not the official position, okay? My attitude is if someone lives in South Africa for the duration they live here, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, I treat them as South Africans. That's my personal feeling about it, okay? But this is not about me. This is about the ANC talking. So the ANC representative says he will use documented, and he used the word documented, foreign nationals to do some work, and an ANC senior saying that's not allowed. So it's not me saying it, it's what they themselves are saying. Katie, thanks for that call. Okay, I mean, I hear you. Points taken, right? Imboneni in Annandale, hello.
Thank you very much for taking my call, and good afternoon to SFM listeners.
Thank you.
Let me start off about the issue of the mayor of Johannesburg, Dada Morero, for the fact that the JPMD have to employ the foreign nationals in order to assist on language. I just want to put this very clear for the fact that there are so many people in the South African Police Service, one I'm with in the class, who are doing course on legal interpretation in order to survive all these court issues and stuff like that. So the issue of the mayor coming forth and say he is thinking that we must have those people, I think he has opened a can of worms, and I think based on the policy of the ANC, he should be recalled and test why he came with such an idea, because many people of South Africans, they are not having jobs, and he's doing the very same thing that we heard from other political parties saying that the border gate must be open. He has messed up the issue of the policies of the ANC with the utterance that he made during the Lehota, and therefore I see him not fit for that office because he just came in just 2 weeks ago. He's in the office, but now he's making reckless statements. We are very fuming about this matter, and I agree with the certain caller voice note who stated that he should be actually recalled. This is a leader such him, like as we said with Prince to say, he is a leader, and then he's also a leader in the national executive to be part of, because this position is holding is a very big position. Therefore, Arfat, I also want to comment on one of the caller. I think he said we have.
All right, very quickly, please. Very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So the point I want to make, because he said he won't comment because we don't have evidence on that. As far as I recall, the first mayor of the Johannesburg with the ANC, I think is Amos Masondo, and then I think it's followed by Pakstow, and therefore we have D.A. Herman Mashaba, we have Umpo, we have Dada, we have the late that has passed on, I think it was last year, during the eve of the election and stuff like that.
Okay.
So fundamentally, please call Dada to this station to tell us exactly what made him to say such things, which is making South Africans to be very cross.
But he's apologized already for that. So, okay, thank you for that. But I mean, is there another way to take it? I mean, does anybody have a different view and a view around the word documented foreign national? Hassan Lorgat, hello.
Hi, Ashraf. I think that the mayor stepped back because the issues of immigrants and that is very, very hot at this moment. So you can't have a rational conversation on it. That's the reason why I think he stepped down. But the idea of policing, getting people from an affected community to police, part of the police services to help arrange and make sure there's calm and inclusion, is a universal phenomenon. It happens in England, elsewhere, when the Asians were protesting, and they had to find sensitive ways to kind of calm the situation.
So meaning you get someone who understands, maybe the word language is a hot, but they maybe to understand the
language, the culture, the mores, he knows when to do stuff. So clearly that's the only reason that I think he stepped back, is at the moment to discuss anything about immigrants now is an emotional hot potato.
Yeah, I think it's a point.
It moves so far away, you can't have a rational chat.
Yeah, point well made. And I tend to concur with you on that one there, that it is just that hot potato.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Staying with the issue of the Joburg mayor, we'll be chatting not to him but to Tebogo Ditsecho of Ditsecho Media after the news at 5, just around the brand communication of how two people from one party are communicating differently and the impact it does have on the brand, in this case, brand ANC, right? Okay, What we're going to do every Monday around this time is we're having a feature called Personal Growth, because we actually want you to grow and really grow big time in all that you choose to do. So today, let's talk about how opportunities emerge in the environment. Interesting thought. My guest is Dr. Tami Mazwai, who's the chairman of Imtia Dynamics. Tami, it's been a long time. Good chatting to you.
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm very good indeed. Much appreciate you giving your time. Right. So you've got this responsibility of helping us answer this, how opportunities emerge in the environment. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the first thing that I would like to, thanks very much, and good afternoon to your listeners. The first thing that I would like to point out is that whenever people think of entrepreneurship, or they try to introduce people to entrepreneurship, they then first, start teaching them the functions of management, marketing, HR, and so on. And that is basically the second phase. The first phase has always been the emergence or the creation or the identification of an opportunity in the environment. Now, I'll give a very basic explanation.
Okay.
When two people are in a community, they are never self-sufficient. And when there are hundreds and thousands of people, whether they are in social groups or not, self-sufficiency is just non-existent. You will find that there is always a need for this and a need for that. Now, the identification of that need is what entrepreneurship is about. You will understand that in our communities, there used to be a lot of barter. Now, that barter is basically the basis of entrepreneurship because it is a transaction. Somebody identified a need and said, so-and-so needs this. I'm therefore going to need to give that person this, and in return, he will pay me or give me another product and so on. So that's, and I'm making this explanation because there is a mistaken belief, particularly in the black community and in the townships, that entrepreneurship was a result of entrepreneurship. Nothing could be further from the truth. Entrepreneurship is a human activity. The minute that two people get together, the minute that societies are formed, the minute that there's a community, there is going to be entrepreneurship, because in that community, so-and-so will not have this. And somebody will realize that so-and-so does not have this. And in that way, then he goes and provides that good or service to that person. And that basically is entrepreneurship. Now, what we have now got to realize is that in these days of high unemployment in our communities, the biggest problem that we have is what one calls copycat entrepreneurship, where because so-and-so has got a spaza shop, because so-and-so has got a shebeen, therefore I also start a shebeen or I start a spaza shop. Look, when you start a shebeen or you start a spaza shop, you are not creating a market. Instead, you are taking a bit of the existing market. You are taking a bit that was going to other people. So that is the problem that we currently have. And that's why there is such an abundance of shebeens and the spaza shops in our communities, where still you find that now immigrant entrepreneurs are now actually the people now who are dominating in that scene. So what we should be pushing our young people to do is to look at their environment and identify and say, look, these are the needs. There is a need for A, B, C in our environment. Sometimes that needs, when there is one of the big supermarkets in the township, the big supermarkets, I mean, whether it's Pick and Pay, Checkers, or whatever, you will find that you can be of service to them. All that you have got to do is to find out what is it that you can do that they need, and then in that way you are going to be giving them a service. But the current situation that we have, where everybody wants to be a spaza shop, wants to this and that. It's just not going to deal with the current crisis we have. Instead, it leads to violence, because as soon as now two shebeens are at loggerheads because they are numbers, they are neighbors, then they start fighting for the same customers, and instead then they don't. Well, I mean, you can see it in the taxi, the taxi wars. The taxi wars are an example. Everybody is buying a kumbi, but they forget that the number of passengers does not increase because you bought a kumbi. Instead, you are taking passengers from another taxi, and then there is this open warfare. So what we need much more creative thinking from our politicians and the leaders of our business formations in the townships, in which communities talk much more as to how do we survive on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. What is it that we can produce, that we can, I mean, in the olden days, when Soweto was founded, whilst apartheid was denying people the opportunity to be entrepreneurship, but there was no way that there was not going to be entrepreneurship, because as soon as there was Orlando that was created, the people in Orlando needed food, they needed clothing, they needed shelter, and that's when there was a big boom in the rooms, rooms to let and so on, during the days of apartheid and so on.
All right, so we're on to news time. So here's a quick one for you. We're on to news time, so just a quick answer. You talked about we need to be creative thinkers. So what's your quick one-line soundbite answer? How do we inculcate creative thinking when people are not thinking creatively? Quick answer.
Look into the environment and see what need there is, and see how you can satisfy it.
Okay, that's a very important point. Just try and basically solve a problem. I think, in other words, Dr. Tamim Mazwai, the chairman of MTIA Dynamics, fascinating. Thanks for your time. In fact, Google him. You'll find his story is just so inspiring. Let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. Chilota's court application dismissed in concern of Eskom's debt. Good day to you. The Free State High Court has dismissed an urgent application by Mwadi Chilota with costs. The presiding judge stated that her reasons will follow in due course. Chilota lodged an urgent application to have her arrest and extradition declared unlawful and unconstitutional. The former personal assistant to the then Free State Premier, Ace Makashule, argued that the 255 million rand asbestos corruption and fraud charges against her emerged from her refusal to comply with the state's demands for specific testimony in the case. Chilota's out on bail that followed her extradition from the US. The Energy and Electricity Minister, Khosentse Ramokgopa, says although municipalities' debt to Eskom sits at a high level of 78 billion rand, the debt owed to municipalities by customers including residents, businesses and other government departments now sits at 347 billion rand. The minister was speaking at the Just Energy Transition Municipal Conference in Midrand, north of Johannesburg.
As a starting point, national government departments, provincial government departments must pay municipalities. If you were to start there, I think you'll find that a big chunk of that 347 billion or so will be paid. And I know that I'm not neutral, I'm bringing my own prejudices. I did make the point, the qualification at the beginning. I know what a mayor goes through when you are trying to balance the book. You are sitting with provincial government, national government. They have the money because already they are drawing from the National Revenue Fund. They are sitting with those allocations, and then they are not passing that value to municipalities.
The Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Bladen Zimandes told the BioAfrica Convention in Durban that he'll be presenting a vaccine innovation manufacturing strategy to Cabinet in the coming months. It aims to promote the design, development and production of vaccines in South Africa. BioAfrica President Nhlanhla Msomi.
You have to target the ones that we were able to do in the past whose IP costs are low, such as the whole killed and the like. And that the argument that we have to use the cutting edge technologies no longer holds. It is not backed by any evidence. It is important to adopt newer technologies such as the mRNA, such as the VLP even for preparedness, but it's also important to always consider that the path from which we're operating is limited.
Meanwhile, Minister Nsamandes told the convention that Africa needs to make strides in manufacturing vaccines locally, given the experience during the COVID pandemic.
As you may recall, South Africa, like much of the developing world, found itself at the mercy of grossly inhumane, selfish, and outright immoral actions by governments of most industrialized countries, monopolizing and controlling the flow of life-saving therapeutics and vaccines.
The city of Johannesburg says it's working on providing permanent accommodation for displaced residents after a hijacked building burnt down in Jeppiestown. More than 200 people have been displaced following the fire. 4 people died and 3 others were injured. The city's Mlungisi Mabaso.
Yesterday we were able to provide an alternative accommodation, but as of today we will be working on a permanent solution, because what we have done in the inner city, when we encounter these challenges, we provide an interim accommodation while working on a permanent solution, so that at least our residents are moved to a safer spaces. So we have done that, but today we will be working towards providing a permanent solution for them.
Finally, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is visiting the western city of Solingen to commemorate the victims of a stabbing in which 3 people were killed and 8 others wounded. Prosecutors have charged a Syrian man who moved to Germany as an asylum seeker. He's accused of being a member of the IS militant group. The BBC's Damien McGuinness has more.
The deadly stabbing has sparked a debate about migration in Germany. Conservative opposition politicians are calling for radical measures, including controls on all German borders, and wants Germany to stop taking in refugees from Syria and Afghanistan. Chancellor Scholz's left-wing party is calling for tighter controls on knives and says that Germany will continue taking in those fleeing persecution, but asylum seekers who commit crimes must be deported. The leader of the far-right AFD, meanwhile, wants a complete ban on all migration.
The top story, the Free State High Court has dismissed an urgent application by Mwadi Chaloto with cause. She lodged the application to have her arrest and extradition declared unlawful. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khos.
In your sports this hour, box hit by lock injury and defending champions Djokovic and Golf headline US Open Day 1. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Roodepoort has a crash reported after the Albertina Sisulu Road exit. Witkoppen Road southbound in Johannesburg North has a crash near Pritchard Street. In Pretoria, Solomon Hlangu Drive is slow moving at the N1 highway, and Eskom Pahleli Drive northbound has a crash at Mabopane Highway. In KZN, the N2 northbound an earlier crash after Spaghetti Junction has been cleared. The N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The N2 southbound is queuing through Amanzimtoti, and the N3 westbound has a stationary truck reported at Linfield Park. In the Eastern Cape, the N2 southbound has one lane open approaching the M4 Settlers Way split. That's due to flood recovery work, so you're asked to expect delays. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Muway. The M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards Ottery Road exit. Voortrekker Road eastbound in Salt River has a stationary truck reported near the container storage yard, and Strandfontein Road southbound in Ottery has flooding reported at Klip Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation. SA Women Struggles Journal. Hashtag Women's Month. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development, SAFM celebrates the power, resilience and brilliance of women. It's Women's Month, and we honoring the incredible contributions of women in our communities, our workplaces and our homes. Join SAFM in recognizing the achievements, strengths and spirit of women everywhere. Let's uplift and empower each other today and every day. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Looking at some of the comments we've had from, in this case, from Klengani in Palaborwa, saying, "Hi Ashraf, good show as usual. Thank you so much for that." What about the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi's 2 weeks amnesty to the lawyers who submitted fraudulent claims to his department? Doesn't that also play a role in raising our national pulse? Well, I mean, the answer is obvious. The answer is yes. And to answer your question directly, I mean, that's why we ask you what for you moves the national pulse every single day. So for you, that's what moves it. We haven't paid a lot of attention to it. It was certainly done this morning on the breakfast show, but it doesn't mean you must not talk about it. If you think that's the biggest issue that moves the national pulse, well, so go ahead and talk to me about that, right? We're going to talk about SOEs coming up shortly, but let's now stay with the issue of the ANC in the city of Joburg, in the province of Gauteng, regarding what we've discussed all afternoon, really, speaking from the Joburg mayor to the Gauteng premier. So we thought let's look at what it does when you have two senior members within one political party, but both elected on other higher platforms, who have differing views, and those views play out publicly. But there's also apologies. What do you make of all of that? What impact does it have, certainly in this case here, on brand ANC? So with me is Tebogo Ditshego, who's the CEO of Ditshego Media. Tebogo, good chatting to you. You're live with the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and the listeners. Great show as usual.
Much appreciate you listening in as well, besides being a participant as you are right now, right? So first of all, I mean, how complex is it, and should it be that public figures of a major organization, in this case it just happens to be the ANC, play out their differences, firstly, actually on Twitter, on the X platform?
Well, before communication comes preparation, and I think that is what is missing many of the times, where people mistaken communication as being something that is simply done through spoken word. And actually, communication is a strategic function of any organization. And that strategy has to start with, when you look within the organization and what you're trying to achieve, how are we going to achieve our objectives? And you need to look at that honestly. When you make decisions in an organization, it has an influence on your reputation, and it communicates something. The decisions that you make are a form of communication, because it speaks about who are you listening to, what is your agenda, and what are you trying to achieve. So I think in this regard, we have issues with regards to preparation.
So when you say preparation, although in this case the Joburg Mayor Dada Morero, I mean, speaking, at an ANC event, let's be clear, it's not in his position as the mayor, but I mean, I think it's very difficult to blur those lines, right? But he didn't say it's going to happen. He only proposed it. He only just thought it out aloud.
And so we have to then go back to how did it come about that a Joburg mayor would then make such a ridiculous proposal, because that would then bring the brand of the city of Joburg, as well as the brand of the ANC into disrepute, because not just the ANC, also the government of provincial unity into disrepute. And so there's an issue there, because then you ask yourself about the credibility of this mayor. And I think this spans back to 1996, because this is a strategic flaw of our approach to crime prevention. And we had the National Crime Prevention Strategy in 1996, and then there was a feeling that it's taking too long because they were addressing the root causes of the social economic issues, and then they went and focused on law enforcement, and now we are dealing with the residues of not going to the root causes of the issue. So there's two preparatory issues. One is a lack of inclusive policy development, which is multi-sectoral, and then the second is a lack of preparation of of the individual who holds the office.
Okay, let's go back to the individuals once again then. So I'm suggesting the fact that obviously Panyaza Lesufi had to correct him in terms of what is national policy because the mayor's position speaking at an ANC Lekgotla was inconsistent with national, right? But in correcting him, how does that play out in the public spaces? I mean, I'm looking from a brand communication point of view. How then do we perceive one major leader correcting another major leader from the same organization publicly?
Well, it is not advisable for one leader of an organization to correct another leader in a public platform. And I highly doubt that this is a part of a broader crisis communication strategy. Because if there was a strategy, they could have prevented this from happening in the first place, because the proposal would have not been made in the first place if there was a communication strategy in place. So I do not believe that, I think it was more of a knee-jerk reaction, because it is even trending on Twitter till this very moment. At number one, you have Garda, at number two, you have JMPD. So it actually adds fuel to the fire and makes you look more disorganized.
Shouldn't the Premier then, having disagreed with the Mayor, simply communicated with the Mayor to communicate his disagreement, and then the Mayor on his own tweeting out that he'd like to withdraw his original statement that he was wrong? This is like not today, this is before today. Should not that have been done?
Absolutely. So that is exactly what should have been done. But even over and above that, the government of provincial unity or government of local unity could have came together and decided on how to approach this issue, because it does affect them, and the ANC could have came together and said, okay, this is how we are going to proceed. You do not want a situation where another leader is now criticizing another leader, because that makes you look disorganized.
I see, of course, subsequently we know that the first leader, the Mayor, has apologized, and the ANC has now welcomed the apology. I mean, no surprise in that, right? Let's then go back to the other point, which is that he's saying, and I'm talking to you about it more as a communications expert than a political analyst, because it's that important, that there is a problem of crime in our country. So here's this person who's saying, one of the things around crime is, let's see if we can understand the people who commit these crimes better, and therefore if we get people of the same type. You know, we talk about language, but it could be just culturally connected. Doesn't that make sense? And I think Hassan Logat called in earlier on, effectively saying that's the norm all around the world. Get people who understand the culture.
Well, I do think that politics are a part of communication, and communication is essential in politics, because you need to understand the issues prior to speaking about them. So I think it is a root communications issue, and if you look at it, you have to understand the policies. You have to understand what is going on in society. One of the biggest problems that we have that has led to this kind of policy perspective is that we do not have a crime prevention strategy in collaboration with multi-sectors of society. And this is why you are now having a situation where you are proposing things that are actually unlawful. A foreign national who is not a citizen of South Africa is highly unlikely to qualify in terms of the security clearance, because that is a security risk in itself. You cannot have someone communicating the secrets of law enforcement to anyone in another country, even if they do not have nefarious intentions. Those are the basic principles of security clearance in the country. And so the problem was, you have a situation where policy development becomes what we think about before we sleep at night, as opposed to how we bring NGOs, the private sector, and other sectors of society together, so that our knowledge base is clear and is substantive for us to develop the policies required. I just wanted to make one more point before the next question, is that if you look at South African society as a whole, crime prevention is a subject of multi-layered cooperation of society. There's a reason why crime is low in Sandton, because businesses are in Sandton, and the private sector plays an important role in service deliveries, similar to NGOs who deliver 90% of social services in government. And so there's an issue with funding amongst the NGOs, and there's a lack of collaboration and participation in terms of the multi-layered sectors of society, and this is why we have this current situation.
Okay, so here's the last thing then. Regarding first of all, the mayor made the point, and just to clarify, he said documented foreign nationals. So clearly you had to be documented, right? That means you had to have the right to exist and work in this country and work in this country. So he never suggested one must ever, cut out the red tape. Not at all, okay? So now just keep that in mind. Are we not running the risk at the moment in South Africa? And I'm going back to the issue of the South African Miss South Africa representative with what happened regarding the whole Nigerian-Mozambican connection, that at the moment just about everything, notwithstanding the fact that there is a concern for many people who are unemployed and therefore look at foreign nationals taking their jobs, but that there is a concern that everything now at the moment, the default is, well, it's foreign nationals, and therefore all the political parties are treading on eggshells.
Yeah, so we can't operate as a society as a silo. We'll never succeed. Our neighbors need to succeed. The African continent needs to succeed, and we must participate in collective success. That is absolutely important, and I think this is something that we need to work on, because we have a very serious problem with a people who are inflaming ideas of the dangers of foreign nationals, when actually, if you're documented and you're in the country, you can actually play a great role in creating jobs, in bringing skills necessary. I think people don't even know that there are over 500,000 jobs that are available in the private sector in South Africa that are not filled because we do not have the skills to fill those positions. And there are even more. There are millions of jobs on the African continent, which South Africans have the skills to go and ensure that they get these jobs in the African continent. If we were collaborating, we could reduce unemployment in a very short space of time if we collaborated with other African countries. So you are correct. I think it is quite superficial that whenever anything foreign is mentioned, there's a public outcry. But I do think that the public outcry with regards to this issue does have basis, because it is a national security threat to bring a documented foreign national to, especially if there's too many of them, to now become law enforcement officials in South Africa. Look at all the coups in Africa that are taking place. I mean, we do not want to have a security threat like that.
All right, let's leave it at that. In the meantime, I'll leave you to tweet out what for you are the priority jobs in South Africa that are not being taken up, and what for you are the priority jobs on the African continent outside of South Africa that are also not being taken up. And I'm saying tweet it out because I'd love to check it out on your Twitter feed and see what it is that you've come up with. I'm looking forward to that. Tebogo Ditsecho, appreciate your time. Thank you. That's of course from Ditsecho Media. What about your thoughts? I mean, does that get you think a little bit differently? And that's really what we want to do as well every day, as we raise the national pulse, understand what raises it, but also getting you to think rather differently. So do think differently about it.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
So while we're talking about this issue, there's also developments elsewhere. I mean, in fact, it seems like post the elections and after the forming of the government of national unity, or some may say Ashraf Garda, multi-party democracy, whichever you want, the president appears to be very, very busy. Now, he's assigned shareholder responsibility for each of the state-owned enterprises that previously fell under the Department of Public Enterprises, and he's assigned them to the respective line function ministries. So why did he do that? What are the implications of that? Let's find out from the SABC News economics editor, Tsepo Mongai, who's been following the story. Tsepo, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So first of all, let's take a step back. I mean, in terms of the change of responsibility allocation, I mean, at the time that it was done, I mean, and even maybe today, did the president explain why?
Well, just a step back, before elections, there was a consultative meeting that involved government as well as labor unions under the Public Sector Bargaining Council. Of course, in hindsight, they were expecting that certain ministries, especially as the matter had actually was muted, that the public enterprises would actually it will no longer exist. So there was some kind of a compact where they agreed that there shouldn't be job losses as a result. And of course, they didn't expect it at this scale that we are seeing at the moment. And thereafter, the Minister of Public Service and Administration was tasked with actually looking and exploring at different ways that this can be done with very little impact on the workers, particularly job losses, but also ensuring that this does not put a lot of strain on employees when they are either absorbed into various government departments, because we know there's been a lot of job positions that were not filled, positions that were not advertised. So now, what was still outstanding was the president to announce this proclamation in terms of what needs to happen. What we've had, particularly from some unions, was that the minister in the presidency was actually the reason why the process was going slow, because she was not satisfied with certain aspects. Whether that's true or not, we're not quite sure about it. So that culminated in this department that kind of gave direction in terms of the shape and the nature of the negotiations and people where they would go, because the announcement today actually tells us which SOEs and where would they go. And what is very clear, for example, SAA will go to the Department of Transport. And that's something that players in aviation, particularly those who've worked at SAA, have actually been calling for, that it will actually be much important for them if they can actually be under the Department of Transport, because a lot of synergies in terms of policy and operations, if they are within the Department of Transport. And you could see, Ashraf, that there's a lot of linking those SOEs to line function ministries, so that there is a very clear and concise functions, so that you don't find one SOEs having to either report to two different ministries, which has been happening and has been a major challenge for some of the SOEs.
I suppose, people listening are wondering, because generally SOEs have been very largely unperforming or poor performers, and we know that, right? It's been a big problem. So I would think that a person listening, skeptical person, will be saying, okay, show me the light at the end of this tunnel. I mean, do you see that?
No, absolutely. I don't think this decision will make SOEs more efficient all of a sudden. I think issues of proper management, dealing with issues of corruption, I think those remain paramount, and they're quite key in ensuring that these SOEs are turned around. The issue of aligning them to line function departments, of course, will assist, but it's just one aspect of many things that must be done. I mean, Transnet, we know, it has been experiencing quite a number of challenges. PRASA, for example, Ashraf, has been within the Department of Transport all these years, but is it a better functioning state-owned enterprise? And I mean, it's not.
Well, I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's much more that still needs to be done in order to make these state-owned enterprises more efficient.
Okay, maybe lastly, any other important takeouts that came from today's meeting or conference?
Look, Ashraf, we're still waiting for a lot of information, and I'm sure the workers who are affected by this are still waiting for more clarity in terms of how is this process going to be undertaken. Because remember, it affects staff members, it affects workers, and they need to know, how they're going to do this, when, and what is the process that is going to be taken. And I do expect that the presidency and the public administration department will probably have to make an announcement to clarify. The presidency, all that it did was to make this announcement today, but I think in terms of the details, we are still waiting.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it, Tsepo. Thank you for your time, Tsepo Mungai, the SABC News economics editor. What do you make of that now? So, President Ramaphosa assigning shareholder responsibilities to each of the state-owned enterprises. So, as has been mentioned, you've got a range of all these different organizations. For example, SAA as one example, now being the line partner would be the Department of Transport. Do you think that's the way to go to ensure efficiency of our state-owned enterprises? And maybe as you answer this, which for you has been the best running state-owned enterprise, let's say in the last 10 years? And then name maybe the worst one for you. So the best and the worst in the last 10 years. That should get your pulses racing, moving. I'm sure it would. Right, to connect with me, by the way, WhatsApp, if you want to join the channel, that is the National Pulse channel, for quick alerts and all that we do, just WhatsApp us. The WhatsApp is 0614-104-107. And then you can use that same WhatsApp number even now to send us a voice note. To call in, 086 0002032. Magdalene's got an opinion. Let's get your thoughts, Magdalene. Hi.
Hey, afternoon, Ashraf.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Yeah, definitely. This is a serious national pulse.
I agree.
It's a serious one, really. We are going to get very soon, because our pulses are not going to function. They are going to stop. And definitely.
Oh, I don't want to even say that, but you're saying it. Okay.
Because number one, whatever ANC has put in black and white is doing the opposite every time. The people from the ground, the citizens, are the one who's supposed to take the baton and make sure that they apply according to the public policies. So the people of Jabavu last week, they tried to show the government that we are enough of the treatment from these people. Our children are getting killed. Now today, the new mayor is coming out of blue with this thing of employing the foreign nationals. What is the meaning of this? Is it a sabotage, or is it what Malema did say previously, to say we are sold, South Africa is sold somewhere?
Maybe the answer is just he's being naive. I mean, isn't that a good enough answer to say, I never thought it through? Because he's apologized. Now he's apologized already. He's been reprimanded by the Premier, then apologized, and the ANC's accepted that. Okay, Magdalene, thanks for that call. And again, listen, male, female, young, old, wherever you are in the country, I want you must know this, right? Every time I call, like Magdalene calls from Bloemfontein, when you call in, right, not only do you call and express your opinion, because you give us the name of the city or the town or the dorpie that you live in, you effectively are the ambassador for that town. You put that town on the map, man. So call in, put your town on the map. Let's get the news headlines. Just go in 5:30 years, Greg.
In the headlines of this half hour, the Human Settlements Minister says the rejection rate of historically disadvantaged people applying for home loans is concerning. The Free State High Court dismissed an urgent application by Mwari Chaloto with costs. She lodged an application to have her arrest and extradition declared unlawful. And the Weather Service says temperatures are expected to drop throughout the week in Gauteng from Wednesday. A full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M2 eastbound in central Johannesburg is a crash reported near the Heidelberg Road exit. The N1 southbound and four-ways queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive exit. Modderfontein Road in Kempton Park has a crash reported at Parkland Drive. The N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrand Road. Allendale Road eastbound in Klerkop has delays towards Mastiff Road, and Eskom Pahleli Drive northbound in Pretoria has a crash reported at Mabopane Highway. In KZN, the N3 westbound westbound in Ashburton has a stationary truck reported at Linfield Park. The M13 westbound in Pinetown is queuing on the off-ramp to Stapleton Road. The N2 southbound has a stationary truck after the M7 highway. Chris Harney Road westbound is queuing at the N2 highway, and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In the Eastern Cape, the N2 southbound has one lane open approaching the M4 Settlers Way split due to flood recovery work, so expect delays. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound slow moving towards Ottery Road exit. The N2 outbound is slow moving towards Bunga Avenue. The N1 inbound is slow moving towards Okavango Road. Montague Drive southbound is slow moving towards Bosmansdam Road. Viking Road eastbound in Epping is queuing towards the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, to me, US Open, is that US Open Tennis or US Open Golf? They got the same name. I just thought about it now.
US Open Tennis. Well, it's set to get underway today at Flushing Meadows, where defending champions Novak Djokovic and Coco Gauff are headlining a star-studded start to this year's final Grand Slam. And Djokovic will be starting against Moldovan qualifier Radu Albot, and he's looking to become the first player to get 25 Grand Slams. And he is scheduled to cap the evening session under the bright lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium. Meanwhile, Gauff, who is looking to put a disappointing string of results behind her, will close the Ashe Day session against France's Vavra Gracheva after former champion Dominic Thiem, who is retiring at the end of the season, and he's facing Ben Shelton on the short court. Then moving on to rugby, Springbok assistant coach Dion Davids has confirmed that Archie Snyman and Salman Murad have been ruled out of Saturday's test against New Zealand due to injury. Snyman is nursing a foot injury while Murad suffered a concussion. Then frontline lock Eben Etzebeth is also a doubtful starter and could be ruled out of the rest of the match sooner rather than later. However, they're still waiting to see if by tomorrow he will be better. Now, the Boks are resuming their rugby championship campaign in Johannesburg, and they look to take a significant step towards the Southern Hemisphere title. And don't forget that you can avoid all the traffic on Saturday to go watch that match by catching the Gautrain or e-hailing to Park Station, and then from there you can catch a free train courtesy of Prasa to the Emirates Airline Park, and it's going to be running from 10:30 until 9:30 p.m. Then moving on to football, Cape Town City coach Eric Tinkler is after clean sheets and goals when they host Orlando Pirates in the first leg of the MTN 8 semi-final showdown next week. The Citizens welcome their Soweto rivals to tomorrow, rather, not next week. Now, the Citizens welcome their Soweto rivals to the DHL Stadium, hoping to have given themselves an advantage before traveling to Orlando for the return match over the weekend. And Tinkler is admittedly wary of the Buccaneers being comfortable even when they are on the road, but he wants his City Chargers to also soak up the atmosphere. Elsewhere, Victor Osimhen's agent Roberto Calenda has rubbished reports suggesting that the striker is on the verge of moving to Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal. In a strongly worded statement shared on social media, Calendar made it clear that Osimhen remains fully committed to his career in Europe, where he believes that the Nigerian forward still has much to accomplish. And just quoting him, he says that Victor is not a package to be shipped far away to make room for new profits, and that he has so much still to accomplish in Europe. In marathon news, the Comrades Marathon Association has decided to finally take a stand against cyberbullying, harassment and defamation, and to clear all allegations of corruption, theft and fraud that was leveled against some of its previous and current board members and general membership. Now, last week, 4 board members, including the association's chairperson Nkondisi Ngobo and vice chairperson Leslie Bernard, resigned, and reports are that social media was behind some resignations. And CMA interim chairperson Jeff Minar says that they are committed to adding its voice and contributing towards an online environment that is safe and inclusive for everyone. Then, with 2 days remaining to the Paralympics, the International Paralympic Olympic Committee has said that Paralympians with tattoos of the Olympic rings are no longer obliged to cover them in the competition. Now, the rule banning the display of the Olympic rings tattoo in competition was first introduced back in 2012 at the London Para Games, and even saw some players being disqualified. Well, now the IPC has reversed the rule, and actually, just thinking about it, at the Olympics we saw a lot of athletes that have those ring tattoos. I know that Akani also has one himself.
So why did they ban it in the first place?
They
And why
just
they
felt
reversed
like
it?
they just changed their mind. I know that the rules are that now, especially with the Olympics, is that you can't have a tattoo that is promoting any other product.
Okay,
But
that I understand.
That is very understandable. But in terms of the Olympic
Promoting
rings,
the actual.
I don't understand why.
You're an Olympian. Just don't use our rings. Don't tell other people you're at the Olympic Games.
It doesn't make sense.
Something like that. Yeah. All right.
Well, that's it. It is a wrap from my side.
And just as you end up, I mean, you talked about transport to Ellis Park, but I mean, on the rugby side, it can't be a one-way traffic game, can it?
Mm-mm.
It's going to be tight.
It's going to be very tight. As usual, we always expect them to bring their best against the Springboks. However, with all these injuries on our side, man, I'm worried.
Well, look, I mean, I think Rassie Erasmus will concede that he also wants to build a team for the next World Cup, and that's why he's had changes. I know some of the injured players will be missing. Key ones, that some of them emerging. But on the other hand, I mean, and maybe just a point to put to you and to anybody listening as well, is like, the Springboks against the All Blacks is undoubtedly one of the great sporting rivalries in any sport in the world.
Absolutely. If you're not going to be at the stadium, at least sit at home and watch that match, or go somewhere and watch it with your friends, because it's going to be a cracker of one.
In simple terms, it's not Chiefs Pirates, it's not Man United Liverpool, it's Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. That's really what it is. That's what I think. Right, more sport in an hour.
Right.
No, tomorrow. I said an hour. We want you back.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma Upumali, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
So what does a person talk about on a Monday after a weekend? Well, we certainly talk about business and the markets. And Jimmy Moyaha, as always, does that. He hosts the SAFM Market Update. Jimmy, good chatting to you. Let's start first with the moving markets today. What are they?
Good evening, Ashraf. Good evening to the listeners. It's all about education providers. We've got two updates, interim results from Advtech, the owners of Crawford College, amongst other things, and the Stadio Group, those that own the Mill Park schools, as well as the AVDA, the drama academy that's based in Johannesburg. So we've got conversations with both CEOs. We're going to look at those numbers. We're going to look at projections for the next 6 months and just how the education or the private education space is faring at this time. Then we've got a conversation with 91 around what they think is keeping their investors up at night and potentially other investors as well. We're going to look into that. We're going to look into how you can better prepare yourself for that and just how to navigate those conversations. And then alongside all these conversations, we've got our personal finance segment on a Monday, and this week we're taking a look at having an anti-nuptial contract in place, the benefits that can come with that, and why it shouldn't be the negative thing it's always been made out to be. Typically when we think about this, we think about having one in place in the event of a divorce, but we're going to look at it from a financial point of view to say that it can actually be a strategic advantage to have one in place regardless of your views on marriage and divorce. But before we get to that, markets have been moving. Quite an interesting way to start the week. We've seen mixed results across the board. If we start with Asian markets, Sydney was up 0.2%, Hong Kong was up 1%, Shanghai was flat, but the Nikkei in Tokyo was down 1% almost. The European markets, the CAC 40 in France was up 0.18, just under 0.2%, so under about 0.5% there. The DAX was down 0.1%, with the FTSE up almost 0.5%. US markets also mixed, with the Nasdaq down 0.8% at this stage, the S&P 500 down 0.25%, and the Dow Jones up almost 1/3%. South African markets were no different. Financial stocks, the only sector in the green, that was up 0.8%, cancelled out by the 0.8% decline we saw in industrial stocks. Resources came down 0.5%, or just under 0.6%. As a result, the all-share was down 1/5%. The top 40 was down 1/3%. If we look at some of the movements in terms of actual equities that would have affected those movements, the likes of Stadio that we will be speaking to, they were up about 6% on the day's trade. Premier was up about 5%, Blue Label Telecoms about 3% in the green, Afrimat about 3% in the green as well. Some stocks that were in the red today, Goldfields down about 3.7%, Transaction Capital down 3.7%, ArcelorMittal 3% in the red, Naspers was down around 2%, Process down 1.75%, and Exaro down 1.74%. Quick look at the currency movements. The Rand continuing to gain some ground, starting off the week in very good territory. 17 Rand 69 against the US dollar. 1 British pound will cost you 23 Rand and 33 cents. 1 euro will cost you 19 Rand and 75 cents. 1 Australian dollar, 11 Rand and 98. It was 12 Rand a little while ago. The price of Bitcoin, while we're looking at currencies, 63,401 for 1 Bitcoin. That works out to just over $1 million. It's actually looking better than what it was last week. It's 1.1 million Rand this week. The price of Ethereum kind of moving in not such good territory, $2,700, but still up there. Quick look at commodities. Gold price $2,514 an ounce, 0.25% up. Brent crude $81.16 a barrel. Not looking good for the petrol price. Platinum and palladium still below $1,000 there. Platinum $969 an ounce, palladium $953 an ounce. We're going to look into these and other stories a little later on, though.
All right, and with that, let's talk about this. I mean, in terms of our daily masterclass, let's bring in risk premium. What is that?
In a nutshell, it is what international markets price in as the risk associated, and this is typically referred to also as the country risk premium. It is what international investors price in to compensate themselves for taking on a higher risk associated with investing in a particular country. So think about South Africa as an example. International markets would look at South Africa and say, the geopolitical situation here, the Eskom situation here, these are the risks that we need to price in if we're going to deploy our capital or invest our capital into that market versus if we were going to invest it into our own markets or into other markets. And that typically is what is a big factor when looking at the Rand. If you look at the Big Mac index that was recently published, and we'll end with this note actually, it suggested that the rand was undervalued by as much as 49%, which means the rand should be trading below 10 rand against the US dollar, but instead it's trading closer to 18 rand, and that's because of things like the country risk premium.
Okay, now we know, and suddenly I feel a bit angry about my rand and what it's worth. Okay, Jimmy, thanks for that. Enjoy your show coming up at 6. Do not miss that.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
I have a question for you. What words in this case comes to mind when you hear the titles like Scheme Sam, Generations, The Legacy, and Uzalo? What about royalty, classics, the stars, drama? Well, SABC 1 proudly brings you the 7th Royalty Soapy Awards, awarding the excellence in the soapies across all of Mzansi's broadcasters. Now, tune in for all the glitz and the glam broadcasting. It happens this Saturday, 31st of August, from 8 p.m. That's after the rugby, isn't it? Only on SABC 1, Mzansi for sure.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, let's hear what you have to say. Solomon in Kenya, right. Solomon, go ahead, hi.
Good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Good to talk to you. Go
really,
ahead.
I think, Dada's apology and retraction of his statement has to be accepted. I think it's an oversight. However, in as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing wrong with his proposal. The problem is the environment within which South Africa finds itself, socio-economic hardships, poverty, unemployment, and all that, and crime, which largely is blamed on foreign nationals. Otherwise, everywhere else, in all countries where such things are not there, talent and ability from foreign nationals is considered. But then South Africa is a unique country with chronic unemployment. Really, that's why it's as if Dada has committed serious crime when he was just throwing a view.
Well, I agree with you. An apology is done; it's accepted. Move on. You know, we can't dwell on that. We have to look at. I think we do. There's a lot of triggers that sets people off. Everything, and we magnify and amplify it much bigger than they really, really are. Points taken. The wise words of Solomon. Anonymous in the Northern Cape. Go ahead. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Do you support the All Blacks or the Springboks?
I support the Springboks. I'm a South African, yeah.
Yes, you are on the right track, Mr. Garda. Ashraf, this weekend is going to be a cracker, like Tumi said. You know why?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of debutants from the All Blacks and from the Springboks that haven't played in this picture before. Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Garda, the guys who can handle the pressure and the psychological, it will be a psychological battle and pressure. I don't know if you watched that first game of Andre Pollard, the way he handled that game.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I was so impressed. Now, and I don't know if you watched the one of Johan Goosen. So, Johan Goosen was bad on his first. And he didn't picture any Springbok matches anymore. So, this will be a crucial match for these youngsters. Both from the All Blacks and from the Springboks. But I am surely promising you, my pulse is through the roof, Mr. Garda. This will be one hell of a match.
Well,
I promise you.
You're like almost threatening me. It's like, I'm telling you it's going to be a hell of a match. I'm not going to argue with you. Thank you very much, and I hope it will be a hell of a match that the Springboks win. That's the bottom line to this, okay? But let's put it this way: it's crucial, but let's not call this as crucial as the World Cup. Let's not exaggerate what it really means, okay? I'll get to your voice notes in a moment.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
The basic needs of the masses of the people must be addressed.
When scores of South Africans across the country cast their first democratic vote,
in those long crisscrossing queues. When we laid our hands on that coveted Webb Ellis Cup for the very first time.
Hey, Tata. Nice.
When Mzansi's early risers beat daybreak in huddles of 4-4 Maslalisane to dig precious gold and keep our economy alive. Through the TV screen, the mobile app, and the unshakable power of radio. We are the gateway to the twists and turns of Mzansi's maturing democracy. Weave your brand into the fabric of South Africa's colorful story and be there. Contact SABC Sales at sabc.co.za for more.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, so one of the things we do is we end the show with really talking about winners, winning projects that really inspires the nation. And today, let's talk about the Fitzroy McAlpine Burns unit. It is such an important launch of an important unit, I would think, right? So the official opening happened earlier today at the Chris Hani Baragwanath Academic Hospital, and this has happened because of a 100 million rand donation that's enabled the expansion of the only public burns facility in Gauteng to provide the specialist skills required to treat 750 patients annually from South Africa and throughout the African continent. So, well, significant it clearly is, isn't it? Professor Adeline Muganza with me, the Fitzroy McAlpine Burns Unit Director. Appreciate your time, Prof. Muganza. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So I think the intro already says it is that significant. I mean, how is this going to be a game changer?
Yes, it will be a game changer because the big challenge that we've been having in the past is the number of beds, especially the intensive care bed, one, and then secondly, access to operating theatre. So with this new extension of the burn unit, we'll have more operating time, and that will improve the outcome of many of our patients.
I mean, it just goes. We take it for granted, like things will just get sorted out if for any reason people are victims of a burning, and you're saying that in fact they've been compromised in the past. Am I right?
Yes. I think that if we have severe burns, sometimes we get what we call the smoke inhalation that affect the airways and the lungs. And some of those patients, they can have difficulties in breathing that need some form of intensive care management. And if you don't have that, it can affect, because you can have the swelling of the airway, especially the upper airway, that can obstruct the airway, and you can have mortality from there. Now that we have this burn center, as I mentioned again, if you have large burns, for instance, you need to replace that part of damaged skin. And then if you wait too long, that can get infected. So basically, those are very important steps in the modern management of burns.
Okay. Yes. And there's already been a burns clinic at Chris Hani Baragwanath. So this is in effect an extension or an expansion, rather, that's the right word, okay? To what degree does it then expand? I mean, is it a case of bigger or more effective equipment? What?
Yes, this extension basically is the infrastructure itself and the equipment. But I would say that the government came as well on board, because having infrastructure and the equipment is fine, but you need the staff. So the government as well provided or funded new posts for nurses, for doctors, and some clinical associates. So here we're talking about a big package of extension, which we didn't have.
Okay, that's fabulous. Tell me about the 100 million rands. Where does the donation come from?
Yes, so the donation came mainly from the foundation called the Roy McAlpine Foundation, which they donated actually 70 million rand, And then, as you know, the Christiani Baragwanath Burn Center is an institution unit. It's an academic unit. So the university as well came with 50,000. So it's 100,000 million. But if you look closely, it's more than that because, as I mentioned, the government provided as well some equipment, and the government provided the staff. And the government will continue to buy medication and other things, yes.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I hope I never need to use it, and I hope the same for everybody listening on the show and nationwide. But the reality is people are going to use it, and this, or going to need it, and this will help alleviate some of their big issues. So thank you for your time, Professor Adeline Muganza. Much appreciate your time from the Wits Roy McAlpine Burns Unit Director there. And there you are, 100 million Rand donation, and that allows the expansion of this Burns unit at the Christiani Baragwanath Academic Hospital. Let's do this as we wrap up the show. There's a whole range of other people trying to comment, and let's pick up the issue of foreigners once again.
The problem of people complaining about Dada Morero didn't do anything wrong. It happens, even the British Army, the American Army, they recruit foreigners in their armies. Now the problem here is when they hear about foreigners, they think of black people. What about if Dada Morero wants to put white people there as well? Because in their mind, they think of black people, black Africans. They just hate black people, South Africans.
Well, I don't know if you're right in saying that. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but how do you know that with certainty? You aren't jumping to conclusions. I mean, that's what I think. Anyway, here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Most of the other vacancies are prioritized for the people of the ages of 20 and late 35s. Over the age of 40, people are really struggling to find jobs, especially females. I've seen this happen. They have no chance to generate a pension fund from any institution. And that is the saddest part that is happening in South Africa. This comes from Terence.
All right, Terence, maybe it's a follow-up story. I mean, is it really that difficult compared? I'm not saying it's easy, it's difficult across the board, but is it more difficult if you're above 35 or 40? Is it really that's the case?
Good afternoon, SAFM. Mr. Morero apologized. Okay, it's fine, but we don't accept it. We don't take it. Immediately when you talk about our safety, that's our safety. How can with that nerve we be protected by foreign nationals? Why they don't hire them in a private sector in security? He undermined us as South African and as a young South African. So that guy, his interest is not for South African. So we don't take that. Thank you.
Okay, well, I mean, it's apologize. Just accept it and move on.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Mudau from Soweto. I'm very glad because the mayor has withdrawn his suggestion. Seriously, people of South Africa are not working, so we can't afford to have such things. Thank you, Ashraf.
Okay, there we are. That's an apology accepted. Thank you. Thanks. That's the show. That's the National Pulse. Of course, we covered many things. We couldn't cover everything as often. We tend to leave one or two things out. It's just not enough time. But certainly a thumbs up from myself and the team. Patrick behind the controls, if I can call it that. Fusani who does all the digital work, and then the production team of Timber and Keys. So from all of us to you, thank you. We'll do it again tomorrow, right? It is the National Pulse. Let's get the news now. It's 6 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Concern over home loan rejections and Charlotta's court application is dismissed. Good evening to you. The Human Settlements Minister, Mameloko Kubai, says the rejection rate of historically disadvantaged people applying for home loans is concerning. Between 2018 and 2022, less than 6 million mortgage and home loan applications were received and processed, and under 3 million were declined. The majority of the declined applications were from the previously disadvantaged groups. High interest rates, levels of indebtedness, and a limited supply of affordable housing have been cited as reasons for the rejections. The ministers called for legislative amendments to strengthen the home loan and mortgage discussion.